Good morning, Bitcoin, and welcome to the World Crypto Network 4-year anniversary spectacular. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin was down 11.74% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 8,977, a high of 10,210, and a low of 8,957. That's $1 for 11,091 Satoshis. Kodak postpones Kodak Coin ICO. The future is blurred. Oh well, so much for Kodak and their interesting ICO to monetize pictures and manage digital rights. Maybe it wasn't that good enough an idea anyway, but it did make their stock go up briefly, which must have made somebody somewhere a lot of money. FedEx moves forward with blockchain logistic plans. Interesting news from Federal Express that they plan to store all of their packages on a blockchain. Fascinating. I wonder if they'll have a token of value or a reason to use this blockchain. They have millions of records a day in their system, and they think of database as a secure chain of custody that could transform the logistics industry. Database holds a lot of promise in this space, and database would streamline all that data exchange in a very secure way. Of course, if your blockchain isn't being mined by an outside source, and the outside source isn't being rewarded with a token of value, how is your blockchain different than a database? Companies like Bitfury are opposed to raising the block size because the dumb scaling, quick fix, large blocks will greatly decentralize the nodes and the network. Great information from Bitfury George, CEO of Bitfury, a major Bitcoin mining manufacturer, responding to Roger K. Ver, who doesn't seem to understand how technology works. You can't just keep doubling the block size forever. The blocks grow too large, the nodes are inefficient, and you have to buy expensive nodes, centralizing Bitcoin. Bcash will centralize itself because of its failed scaling model. As Max Kaiser says, a store of value plus liquid means a great means of exchange. It's got utility and it's a great investment. It's portable, fungible, divisible, and desirable. As you can see, all of the Tide liquid and otherwise detergent in this case is locked with padlocks. That's because criminals are known to use Tide detergent as money. Did you know you could buy your drugs with Tide detergent? Sometimes you can. Cash App, 100 millionth of a Bitcoin is called a Satoshi. As Niraj, shout out to Cash App for including you can buy a fraction of a Bitcoin in their storybook. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, Cash App made a really cool storybook describing how Bitcoin works, talking about the anonymous creator, Satoshi Nakamoto, and saying that your Bitcoin are very valuable and you should probably store them somewhere safe. Great addition to the industry by Cash App. Glad to have them on board. Haven't gotten a chance to try them out yet. My app doesn't have the Bitcoin upgrade yet, ironically enough, but I've seen lots of other people who have, and they said they had a great experience, much different than Coinbase. Armin van Bitcoin. The number of Lightning channels on the main net surpasses 1,000. It's fast, it's anonymous, it's free, and it's decentralized. Bitcoin SegWit Lightning Network. Get on board. Even if you made a mistake earlier and you believe that the blocks could be doubled forever, and that was a mental problem that you had, it's okay. We forgive you. Everyone makes mistakes. Now look at the Lightning Network and get on board. Word of advice: stop watching these hype YouTube channels. It's embarrassing the kind of content these people make. Stop the giveaways, the names, the terms, and stop fueling the craze. Want my 2 cents? Simon Dixon is an underappreciated figure that you should listen to. Shout out to Simon Dixon and Andy Hoffman. Check out their interview right here on the World Crypto Network. Last night, the Quebec Bitcoin mining meetup was incredible. 175 attendees in their blockhouse, 2 hours of in depth presentation, and all you need to know about mining, including ROI forecasting and logistics, by Crypty Hex and Francis Pouliot. Check it out on the World Crypto Network. We've got the Quebec Bitcoin mining meetup right here. And also check out the San Francisco Bitcoin meetup on the World Crypto Network. We had a great episode about crypto taxes recently. A lot of people are interested in that subject these days. Remember this? The first ever Bitcoin magazine published in May 2012. The corrupt fear us. The honest support us. The heroic join us. And shout out to CoinDaddy for his excellent new video. It's a parody or a remake of the Eminem song Stan, and it's Charlie to Charlie Lee of Litecoin. And it's a story of a fan of Charlie and how much he loves Charlie. And it's just a great take on the original Eminem song. Probably check out the Eminem song first. I think the sound is working, but you can tell me in the chat if it's not. Bitcoin, the 200 DMA meanders higher. As predicted, that's daily moving average. As predicted, Bitcoin price explosion blasted open a hole in overhead resistance for gold. USD heading much lower. 28,000, still an interim Bitcoin target. From Max Kaiser. Quote of the night from the Quebec Bitcoin meetup. We are all Satoshi Nakamoto, except Craig S. Wright. Another quick check of the Bitcoin prices. The current price on Bitstamp is $8,968. If we look right here, people were saying there was a double bottom. I'm not seeing it from this. I'm seeing there's one here to 9.2. There's a second here to 8.75. But looking at that candle, we're on the 1-day candle. It looks pretty filled in. We're not seeing this kind of stem that we're seeing on these other candles. Could mean we're going lower. I'll have to check out the old Coinbase article, see how we're doing. Once again, you can always send us donations. Be sure to give us a thumbs up. Thumbs up on YouTube helps them spread the word about good videos. It doesn't cost you anything. Basically, my rule of thumb, if the video is good, the sound is good, the content is not totally offensive, give it a thumbs up. Maybe it's not the 5-star video. Think of it more as like, this is a good 3-star video. Give it a thumbs up. But as we said earlier, we are here today to celebrate the 4-year anniversary of the World Crypto Network. And first, a little backstory about how this all got started and what it all means. So here we are. We're looking at the old World Crypto Network page. We're going to do a quick sort by, but first, we're going to talk about some history. First of all, I knew about Bitcoin when it came out. I'm a big nerd. I worked in IT. I was a daily reader of Slashdot, completely addicted, completely in love with the Slashdot community. And it's sad the way it kind of faded and fell apart there. But part of it is that Slashdot and the people who ran it took over the rest of the internet. So we had to spread out a little bit more. But I remember reading on Slashdot about the exciting Bitcoin white paper, telling my roommate, who is a computer scientist, and he didn't seem too into it. I watched a couple of videos, maybe demonstrations of Bitcoin, and I saw a command line program that certainly I could use, but I felt very few others could. I kind of felt like they'd invented World of Warcraft money. And I was happy for them, and I thought it was great that the internet had currency. But much like everyone else, I didn't think the tokens would have much value, at least not very quickly. I did, in the back of my mind, a voice said that I should buy $1,000 worth. But at the time, I was afraid of losing my money, and $1,000 was a lot of money to me. I worked very hard to get it, and I found it difficult to invest, not knowing anything. Time just kept clicking along, though, as the years went by, from 2010 to 2011 to 2012, all the way to 2013, when in April of 2013, after getting a message in my head that January would kind of be the year of the Bitcoin and maybe I should buy again, and missing the boat again at 30 in January, I looked back again in April to see Bitcoin spiking to $250 a coin on the Cyprus incident. For those of you who don't remember, Cyprus, a small Greek island, had a lot of foreign money resting in its banks. I don't know where that money came from. Gangsters, mafia, Russians, could be anybody. But there was a lot of foreign money in there, and Cyprus was broke. So the way the Cypriots decided to solve their problem was by taxing all the people that had money in their banks. They were going to claim money from the top money holders, and this resulted in a basic shutdown of their economy. The peasants were rushing to the ATMs to pull out what little money they could, limited by $100 a day limits. It was very desperate for Cyprus. They're saying it's not a Greek island, but it's in the Mediterranean. How about that? Close enough? All right. But the Cypriots, they turned to Bitcoin in their hour of trouble. And maybe they didn't even turn to Bitcoin. Maybe just the idea was enough to turn to Bitcoin. And, we saw it happen in real time, and suddenly Bitcoin spiked to $250. And I was like, oh, I missed the boat. I could have been rich, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. But even then, I'd felt that at $1. I'd felt that at 10, 20, 30. I'd felt it the whole time. I really thought in my head that the people who got in under $1 were the rich people, and everyone else was just following along. I was very wrong. But I broke down then, and I took the little money I had to buy a handful of Bitcoin. I was willing to pay the $250, but as you know, Bitcoin fell back to $70 a coin, and I was able to get a handful. Not very many. I didn't have that much money, but I did put it all in. It seemed only like a week or two later, we were still waiting for Coinbase to take the freeze off of our account. Unfortunately, at that time, they only let you buy your first order. Then you had to wait for it to go through. Then you could get your second order in. So I unfortunately, I pushed 1 instead of 10, and I got 1 Bitcoin at $70, and I had a week to wait. By the time my account was open back up, Bitcoin was $300. Seemed expensive, but I kept buying, and pretty much all of my funds were in there. All right, this guy's telling us all about something. All right, just chat's distracting. But anyway, so there it was in 2013. I now had a handful of Bitcoin. I'd read everything about Bitcoin, and I was excited. I was ready to go. So I started the Mad Bitcoins channel in April of 2013. And I had a green screen, I had a microphone and a camera, I had a cool Mad Bitcoins costume that I'd used at Burning Man to host a game show. And I was ready to go. And I had a funny voice, and I had some funny things that I said, and I wanted to make Bitcoin fun. I looked at Bitcoin and I saw a lot of math, and I saw a lot of computer geeks like me. And I wanted to have a different take on it, something that was more fun. And also, I'd learned from all these books I'd read about writing short stories that the importance of artwork is to do it every day. If you do it every day, if you have a routine, it's my opinion that the internet will respect you. And if you can gain the respect of the internet, you can go pretty far. So I started making daily videos on the Mad Bitcoins channel. And after a few months, I decided to expand the show to include a Friday wrap-up show. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of John McLaughlin and the McLaughlin Group, but being far away from Washington, D.C., and not having any official background in foreign policy and politics, I knew that I was a long shot to appear on the McLaughlin Group or to host the show. However, the Bitcoin Group, there is something that I could host. There is something that I could be a part of. So on that Friday, I started the Bitcoin Group in my Mad Bitcoins costume, doing my Mad Bitcoins voice, and using my beautiful anonymous Mad Bitcoins name. After the first episode of the Bitcoin Group, people suggested that I take off the costume and use my real name, which I agreed to do. I wasn't crazy about it, but it seemed to fit the tone of the show better than the Mad Bitcoins costume and all the enthusiasm. So we continued with the Bitcoin Group, and after a while, it started to feel like the Bitcoin Group didn't fit on the Mad Bitcoins channel. For a while, the Bitcoin Group had its own channel. It's still out there with all of the early Bitcoin Group episodes. There's a link on the playlist on the World Crypto Network for Bitcoin Group. And After a while, it seemed like we needed more than just the Bitcoin group channel. We needed our own channel where we could talk more seriously about Bitcoins than perhaps on the Mad Bitcoins channel. So my brother and I brainstormed the name in our kitchen, and we came up with the World Crypto Network. At the time, James D'Angelo was already broadcasting under the name World Bitcoin Network. We also liked the idea of using World Crypto Network as a more general, more of a catch-all that would allow us to talk about other coins or technology in general. So it was about 8 months after I started Mad Bitcoins. It was February 1st, 2014, when I started the World Crypto Network. And now, with the thanks of YouTube and the power, we're going to sort this playlist by date added, oldest, and look back on the World Crypto Network. Our very first coin, I didn't know how to start this network. I had the idea that maybe we should do coin announcements. So I went over to the Bitcoin Talk forum and I just read coin announcements, little short episodes announcing each coin. As you can see, I'm not sure if any of these coins have survived. And this might be a good lesson to those of you who are altcoin crazy these days that you never know what can happen. Uh, on that first day 4 years ago, I didn't even review, I just read the announcements. These are just straight announcement readings. I read the announcements for Hunter Coin, Saturn Coin, Ultra Coin, Extra Extra Large Coin, Cola Coin, Nintendo Coin, Peace Coin, Vodka Coin, Swag Coin, Cinema Coin, Prosper Coin, Bella Coin, Music Coin, and EBT Coin. I don't think any of these survived. But let's take a look at the very first video of the World Crypto Network, Hunter Coin HUC launched. Welcome to World Crypto Network. World Crypto Network news time 1:53 p.m. Hunter Coin launched. Hunter Coin HUC is a P2P cryptocurrency which incorporates human mining, a blockchain-based alternate reality P2P decentralized cryptocurrency game. Hunter Coin will be an experimental cryptocurrency and a 2D top-down decentralized P2P game. The majority of the coins will be generated within a game world within the blockchain. Miners will receive a percentage of coins generated in the world as taxes to encourage miners to process transactions. Hunter Coin launched. And that was it. Just a quick introduction to a coin, and the World Crypto Network was underway. A few days later, my good friend Chris Ellis, who I'd given access to the World Crypto Net to, started our very first live stream. Let's check out. This was during the Mt. Gox crisis. Mt. Gox, we'd been questionable of it for a while. We always called it Magic the Gathering Online Exchange, being very facetious and flippant about their name and their questionable PHP interface, which even as a minor PHP developer myself, I could tell right away it seemed like string cheese. It didn't seem safe. But that was back then, and we didn't know anything. We just had those feelings. So let's check it out. This is the first major popular video on the World Crypto Network. My friend Chris Ellis started it. Later, our friend Andreas Antonopoulos joined. And Chris and Andreas really got into the philosophy behind Bitcoin and some really exciting ideas. I'm going to try to find the timestamp where they really get into it. I'll play a little bit of the beginning of the video. I'll look for the timestamp. We might skip ahead. I was praised in this video for staying out of the fire. I directed the conversation. I added a few points here and there, but mainly I just let my two flamethrowers, Andreas and Chris Ellis, go at it and discuss the excitement of Bitcoin. As you can see, this is a 4-hour hangout. It looks like a special thanks to Janine or whoever put in these little caption things. These help a lot. These don't seem that great this time, but let's see. Does anyone timestamp the point where Chris and Andreas go off? No, it doesn't seem like it. But let's just have a little start of Chris Ellis here on the World Crypto Network.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a World Crypto News Report. My name is Chris J. I'm from Feathercoin. I'm joined here by Andres Antonopoulos, a Bitcoin developer, and we are reporting to you on the latest MTGOX situation. This is the price on Bitstamp, according to BitcoinWisdom.com. This is the 15-minute chart. Since we last reported to you about 8 hours ago, the price has seen a little bit of a rebound, although I would draw your attention to the pretty low volumes here. So I wouldn't read too much into that at the moment. This comes off the back of recent news of what has to be one of the best announcements MTGOX has ever made. It really does stand up there in a shining light, high up on the league table. In light of recent news reports and the potential repercussions on Mt. Gox's operations on the market, a decision was taken to close all transactions for the time being in order to protect the site and our users. We will be closely monitoring the situation and will react accordingly. Best regards, MTGOX team. And this comes about what must have been, Andreas, 18 to 20 hours after this leaked document emerged. What do you make of it?
I'm just, well, I'm feeling very mixed feelings right now. I'm very upset, and I'm hurt by the knowledge that it seems likely at this point that a lot of people have lost large amounts of money, and I'm angry at Karpellis and Gox for just being, at best, irresponsible on such a massive scale. I don't know what's going on any more than anybody else does. I've seen the leaked documents. I've seen the claims that all of the funds are gone. And I know that this is probably going to take weeks just to find out what exactly is going on, but certainly if this allegation or these claims were not true, I would have expected to see at the very least a statement from Gox saying we have the money, and the fact that they can't even make that statement is extremely worrying, and leads me to believe that it seems they don't. And so, you know, we can draw some conclusions. They had said in the past that they kept funds in cold storage. So either that cold storage wasn't actually cold, or something else is going on, something worse. And, you know, really speculating at this point without information is probably, you know, is certainly irresponsible. So all we can do is go on what information is out there and the response we see from Gox. And unfortunately, what they're doing is they're creating more uncertainty by not providing clear information to the market. You know, if the money's gone, Mark, just say, look, the money's gone, everyone. And let's move on from there and figure out how to unravel this mess. This is going to be a hard lesson for everyone in Bitcoin, but it's important to learn the right lesson. The right lesson is that the Bitcoin decentralized system depends on ownership and trusts being retained by the end users. If you have your keys and no one else has your keys, then your funds are as secure as your control and ownership of those keys. And this is a message that I've been delivering consistently for more than 2 years now, and for almost 2 years now. What Gox did is they demonstrated that if you take all of the funds off the blockchain, take control of all of the users' keys, then you have to trust in Gox and not the Bitcoin blockchain. And trust in institutions with centralized control over money is something we've seen in the past. And it's something that requires either heavy external auditing and regulation, or it leads to potentially catastrophic results. Now, the hard lesson to realize here is that in Bitcoin, we can do better. We can do cryptographic proof of solvency of exchanges. We can verify their funds using the transparency features of the blockchain. And we can set up systems that keep the control of keys and the control of funds in the hands of the users. I work for Blockchain Info, and we have 1.2 million or more web wallets, and blockchain has no access to the funds in those wallets. Blockchain has no access to the keys that control the funds in those wallets. Everything that happens on that site happens in the user's browser, with the user's password, and with the user controlling the keys and creating transactions in their browser. We never touch the funds, we never touch the keys. Not only could we not be robbed of customer funds by an external force, blockchain couldn't steal the funds from the customers even if we wanted to, because we have no access to them. Only the customers have access to the keys. That is a model that works better. It's a model that depends on the blockchain to offer trust, and it's a model that is secure by design. The model that we saw as GOX, the custodial model where other people hold access to your keys, is a risky model, and it requires you to trust in the operations of that company. And so what GOX had done was they had removed the controls that give you trust through the blockchain by taking over the keys, and they hadn't added the controls you see in a regular banking system that at least provide a modicum of trust through independent audit, which also failed, as we've seen repeatedly, but at least are more trustworthy than a dude in Japan who has repeatedly demonstrated very poor management skills. So I hope we take away the right lesson. And the lesson is that we can do a lot better in terms of not only securing customer funds, but also improving the security of those funds in using the programmatic features and cryptographic proof of the blockchain. One of the reasons I decided to work with blockchain as the chief security officer is because I really believe in that decentralized model. And I think it's a much more secure model than we see in other parts of the industry. But there are ways to even improve custodial access. There are ways to provide cryptographic proof of solvency and to do independent audits of solvency in those companies that do have custodial access to funds. And so, you know, GOX has been at first the pioneer that created the exchange and created price discovery for Bitcoin. And in the last 2.5 years, they have been a constant source of really catastrophic management failures and incompetence. And I think this is the final straw. It's important to remember that a lot of people have lost a lot of money, most likely from what we see. And this will be a devastating blow for these people. And, you know, my heartfelt sympathy goes out to everyone who's been affected by this. I hope we can work.
And at this point, you can see that Andreas was very much personally affected by the Mt. Gox crash. He'd pretty much gone around the world already telling people to buy Bitcoin, how great Bitcoin was. And then to see something like this take down Bitcoin, once again, a centralized institution built on the back of Bitcoin, Mt. Gox, ended up causing a real crash in Bitcoin, real bad feelings for a while. And remember, later, we would learn that perhaps the trading bots, Marcus and Tux, drove the price up to $1,200 in a way to try to recover Mt. Gox's lost funds. Remember, the story on a lot of these hacks is you get hacked, but no one knows about it. You either raise the price of Bitcoin, lower the price of your fees, print a bunch of alternate coins and then sell those or give those to your customers, or you go straight out of business. And nobody likes to go straight out of business. So what Karpellis did allegedly, or what Mt. Gox did allegedly, was to create these two trading bots that traded against each other, trying to drive the price up, with the idea being maybe they could sell when the price was high, have it drop back down, and then have enough Bitcoin to pay off their customers. That didn't happen. It did go up, but I don't know that Mt. Gox ever was able to pay off their customers, although in recent times, by holding the Bitcoin, they allegedly are able to pay back their customers the USD amount that they had in their accounts at that time. Of course, they don't get the gains from holding Bitcoin. We're going to try to skip ahead. It's been quite a while since I watched this, but I do remember there was a part, I want to say like an hour and a half in. I know it was after I joined. There's a little bit of me where Chris and Andreas really got going. I thought for sure someone had tagged it in the comments, but I'm not seeing it. Let's see. When I skim through, I know it was after I got in. So let's try this. Here's
to third parties. So
such as if-then statements and while-do statements being applied to actual money with Bitcoin contracts and the Ethereum project, etc. There's a lot going on in Bitcoin, and a lot of it is positive.
Right. There's so much going on at the moment. I mean, in the background of this, more merchants than ever are signing on. We've seen new organizations step in and start trying Bitcoin. We're seeing some of the discussions by large payment providers even to start dabbling in Bitcoin and start experimenting with the protocol. You know, at the same time, we have 80% of the volume of Bitcoin traded on exchanges that are continuing to trade and that are operated responsibly. There are great companies in this space, professionally managed, properly managed companies with incredible talent in them. And we shouldn't forget the fact that this is a very different industry than it was a year ago. A year ago, Gox could have dealt almost a death blow to Bitcoin because it not only represented 80% of the volume of transactions, actually it's a bit more than a year ago. Not only did it represent 80% of the volume of transactions, but there were very few other exchanges where you could, or no exchanges really, where you could transact with Bitcoin. And now we have an exchange network where Gox is the minority. It was, trading less than 20% even before it shut down its withdrawals. And 80% of the market was elsewhere, was with other players who emerged in the second wave of Bitcoin companies with credible investors and professional management teams, with good development teams, and a proper structure to be able to not only scale, but also deliver quality services. I think that's what we're seeing now, is that there's all of this second generation of Bitcoin companies that are much more professional, much more qualified, much better run, and they're bringing innovations to the business every single day. Just yesterday, NeoB launched in Cyprus. It's the first Bitcoin exchange and Bitcoin debit card system that is backed by an actual banking license and has an office in Cyprus, and they did their launch yesterday. And this is really exciting time for Bitcoin. I still think 2014 is going to be an incredible year for Bitcoin. In fact, if anything, putting this behind us in February is probably going to be, in retrospect, as beneficial to Bitcoin as it was putting behind Silk Road, because the only good thing that comes out of this is that we can't be goxed again.
We can't be goxed again. And if you look at this right here, we have the some of the early lineup of the World Crypto Network here. We have Chris Ellis right down here. We have Will Pangman. We have, of course, Thomas Hunt, myself, Andreas Antonopoulos, and our good friend Bonavest. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but Bonavest and Coin Life, he used to do these incredible 8-hour trading hangouts. and they would just go on forever, and it was quite something. And this was back in 2014. He was doing these 8-hour hangouts. But let's go back. Oh, I should have actually gone back instead of this way. But let's go back into the archives and try to find something else. I do think if you want to go back, this Mt. Gox saga is a really good video. There's definitely a section in there when Chris Ellis and Andreas get going on the philosophy of Bitcoin, but I can't find it right now, so let's keep moving. As you can see, we continued to cover the Mt. Gox crisis and the collapse. We started doing longer and longer live shows. Here's the Bitcoin talk show. Derek J, my friend, started it on his own channel, and then he said he'd like to bring it over to the World Crypto Network. Let's check in a little bit with Bitcoin Talk Show episode 2.
Oh, hello. I didn't see you come in. Welcome. This is the Bitcoin Talk Show. Welcome to my living room. We are broadcasting from Peace News Now Studios in Philadelphia. You can check out my work. I'm Derek J. Freeman, and I've got a DVD about my life and my activism at victimlesscrimespree.com. I also produce another podcast called Peace News Now. But on today's broadcast, we are live with you talking about how Bitcoin has influenced your life. Peace News Now, my podcast that's been around since 2012, has been 100% funded solely in crypto donations. And it has changed not only my life, but the lives of others who've interacted with this program in the past 2 years. And going forward, we want nothing but crypto. What about you? Has crypto affected your life? I read some, and on today's episode, we've got a special guest with us, Thomas Hunt of Mad Bitcoins. Thanks so much for being with us, Thomas.
Hello, hello.
And you do so much. You do not just Mad Bitcoins, but you're the brain behind the World Crypto Network, a new network of Bitcoin news and entertainment and infotainment. So here we are producing the second episode of Bitcoin Talk Show. You can check out past archives of this show at bitcointalkshow.com or on YouTube at youtube.com/BitcoinTalk. Now, we do take your calls because it is a live interactive call-in show. There's a chat room in YouTube that we'll be checking periodically, as well as our Twitter accounts. You can tweet Mad Bitcoins at Mad Bitcoins, or me, Derek J. Freeman, at Derek J. Freeman, and I'll be scanning those periodically as well. We also take calls. The number is Hi-Fi Civdis, spells out 443-424-8347, and we'd like to hear from you. How long have you been using Bitcoin, and how did it come into your life? Was there someone influential who tried to explain it to you, or did you discover it on your own while scanning the internet? Was someone making a donation to you? Did you sell something for Bitcoin? Perhaps you're a business owner looking to use Bitcoin. What are your personal Bitcoin stories? Thomas, I could talk all day about how Bitcoin has impacted my life. I'd like to hear about yours. I never really heard about how you discovered Bitcoin, but it certainly has changed your life in the past few years, hasn't it?
Well, it's a sad and sordid tale because certainly I read the internet.
I pretty much already told you this story this morning, so we're going to skip ahead, see if we can find something else good in this Bitcoin talk show. Maybe something where I'm not talking. That'd be great. It doesn't seem likely. Internet is performing admirably.
You've spread it around and you get to download it. We've got a caller.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
Hey, caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hey, what's your experience been with Bitcoin?
It's been good.
Yeah? Good how?
I've been able to purchase some things online that I normally wouldn't be able to.
Oh, that's
Hi-oh.
Yep. And one of the comments that I actually just wanted to make by calling in, we're in the process here of rolling out an ATM sort of operation business here in Canada, so we're excited about that. But one thing that has come to me was
Yes?
was just the now that Bitcoin is accessible and there's no age limit on Bitcoins, right? The transactions sort of anonymous, we'll say. At least the person on the other end is. So I think it's great.
All right, so this really feels like watching a call-in show. But Derek and I had a great time talking about Bitcoin, and we really enjoyed having guests like you on the show. Then we had a great show about Aurora coins. This guy in France joined me to be mad Aurora coins. I don't know if you guys remember, Aurora coin was supposed to be the national coin of Iceland. They were going to airdrop it on all of the citizens, and then the Iceland people would use it to buy things or get discounts. It went up and it went down. It was not a great thing for Aurora coin. But we also recruited other people to do shows here on the World Crypto Network. We had my friend Chris Ellis created a show called The Dark News. Let's check out a little bit of Chris Ellis here on The Dark News. Christoph Atlas, sorry.
Welcome to the Dark News.
Dark News.
Dark News.
Broadcast.
This is a show about cryptocurrencies,
Dark nets.
anonymity,
and uncensorship.
All right, and we are live for today's episode of Dark News number 001. Today is April 1st, 2014, and we're going to talk about the latest stuff going on with darknets and underground markets and Tor and anonymous cryptocurrencies and all that great stuff. So I'd like to start off today by taking a look at the markets since last week. So today we have a number of commodities to look at. First, silver is.
Now I love this that he's included 22 rounds and Luger rounds in his dark cap roundup here. And it would probably cause you a lot of pain if you went back and watched these episodes, because Christoph is talking about a time before Monero, a time before Dash. Actually, Dash coin is the dark coin that he's referring to. So I want to say yesterday I looked and Dash coin was $743 a coin. Right here it's $1.46. So that might cause you a little pain.
Trading on a slight decrease from last week. All of these are put in terms of dollars. So $1 is currently trading for 1.57 grams of silver, 9%. The dollar is up 1.29% since last week relative to silver. $1 is trading for 24.28 milligrams of gold, up about 2%. $1 is trading for 2.06 millibits, which is up a significant amount, 19.77% since last week and about 35% since a couple weeks ago. This is mainly being driven by possibly fake news related to China and whether the government will be banning the exchange of Bitcoin for the Chinese yuan. Dark coin.
And this is back in 2014 that we're still talking about China. We're still talking about them banning Bitcoin exchanges. This is 4 years ago. Shout out to Christoph Atlas, creator of the Dark News Show. And he later got a job at blockchain.info. And I think he's doing very well there because we haven't heard from him since. So shout out to Christoph. I hope he's doing well. We had dinner with him in San Francisco a couple of years ago, but it's been a long time. Let's go back to the archive, see if we can find something else cool to watch. We've got, let's see, how about some Bitcoin talk show with Chris Ellis and Thomas Hunt? That sounds good.
Oh, hello there. I didn't see you come in. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. We're on the internet live. And this week we've got a brand new phone number. It's 516-900-4926. That's right, 516-900-4WCN. It's one of those cool phone numbers. And I'm joined today by Chris Ellis. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
I'm going to add that phone number to our thing.
All right, let's try to skip ahead here. We'll get some middle of the show action.
They don't have to have a warrant, although generally they do give you some warning. And they can just send you a bill. They look through your finances. They do give, obviously you've got the opportunity to respond, but they essentially send you a bill and say, this is how much we think you owe. You are given some time to respond with a counterclaim, but otherwise you've got to take them to a tribunal and you've actually got to legally prove them wrong. The problem, what they do oftentimes is they send you questions like, they'll send you a question like, do you use, they could say, do you use cryptocurrency? And if you lie, of course, you're perjuring yourself. And if they later prove that you can, and it would be non-trivial to do because you've got the blockchain, you've got Google, all they've got to do is type in your name into Google. So you're going to have a lot of that start to come into play. And if they find a public key of yours and they find it attached to some request for a donation that you made on a talk show like this or on Twitter, they can say, well, what happened to that money? And they can keep asking you, and you'll have to declare it. So I don't think it's a very efficient way of gambling. But what it does do is it does reveal how desperate people are to have some financial security.
And to gamble. They want to gamble.
Well, they don't, so they don't want to work, right?
I remember when I started eBay, I learned the interesting thing that all the eBay action happens in the last 10 minutes. You put your ad up there for a week or whatever, and maybe you get some people to look at it, but eventually it's down to those last 10 minutes and really the last minute. And now they have all these programs that snipe your payments and steal your things. You don't get to win the whatever it is, but I don't know. We have just so many coins. I mean, look at this right here. Like, and again, I hope someone smarter than me would figure out how not to put viruses in these coins. I hope that they're all safe. These QT clients that are endlessly drifting out onto all of our computers like the damn fools that we are. But there's a brand new one here called Aiden Coin, and I don't even know what it's about. Like, it says there's no pre-mine as I skim this thing. Look, it was announced by someone who likes Franco. That's a good sign, right? I think Franco's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's a cool dude. He's always been good to me. Aiden is the first cryptocurrency to use script OG, which is not original gangster. It means optimized for GPU. Oh my goodness, they wrote a story. Once upon a time, long ago, the cryptocurrency community was divided by a great GPU versus CPU civil war. CPU miners were mad that they could no longer get many Bitcoins with their Intel Celerons, and the migration to Script started. The original implementation of Script was a short-term fix that only kept GPUs down for a few months. Fast forward to today, GPU miners aren't as rare as they once were, and there's a new enemy in town. The evil ASIC. Not ready to throw away your GPU investment? Mine, Aiden. Aiden uses an optimized version of Script that is 8 times less memory intensive than traditional Script.
And what's so funny about this looking back is this is kind of what people want us to do now. They want me to go through all the altcoins and tell me if I think they're good or I think they're bad. And as you can see, we're trying to do that back then. And there's almost no way to distinguish these things. I don't really remember Aiden Coin at all. I'm pretty sure the devs thanked me for mentioning it. But other than that, poof, it's gone into the rabbit hole. And it didn't even have a pre-mine, like I said. We didn't know how to judge these things. No one knows how to judge these things now. It's still quite a mystery. They are saying in the chat that we might have rebounded. Some are seeing Bitcoin 9,000. We're seeing 8,995 on Bitstamp. Right here, we're looking at the 5-minute candles. It does look like this is a downward pressure right here. We see perhaps a bottom here as it starts to unable to break through. Looks like 88.56. Once again, 88.65. Very similar to this 88.21. We might be seeing some support here. Then we have an upward staircase and another small staircase perhaps forming. But keep an eye on this in the chat. And we're going to look for another episode to watch. I remember early on in the World Crypto Network, we had one show for each day. It was really amazing. People volunteered to do shows. And one of those shows was Midas Marnie. Marnie is a trainer. She trains people how to use software, things like Podio, a competitor to Slack, great for organizing your systems. and she volunteered to do these shows. Let's check out a little bit with Midas Marnie.
Hi there, my name's Marnie Melrose. And that little dog down there, that's Snuggie. She decided that she is going to be in our show today. So what I'm going to talk about today is basically how accepting Bitcoins can help you to save money. But not only that, it can actually help you to help your customers protect their identity. So what do I mean by that? Let's talk about what happens when somebody gives you a credit card and the basic things that happen behind that is that payment method gets into your bank account. Okay. So when somebody wants to pay you by credit card, either they're in front of you directly or they're on your website. And what they do that people like myself and Bitcoin think is absolutely crazy is they give you everything that you need, or a quote unquote man in the middle, a bad guy, to take their money and spend it. That's a little crazy, don't you think? You know, they give you all of their credit card information, right? They give you the expiry date. They give you the 3 letters on the back. They give you the name that's on the card, and they give you the billing address. And so now, in you accepting that, it's your responsibility to protect their identity. Now, here's something that you may not be familiar with, or actually you will be if you're accepting credit cards online. So April 8th is a deadline that's coming up with regards to PCI compliance. So if you are accepting credit cards, you know what PCI compliance is. It's basically the way that you protect your customer's identity. And either you're doing it directly.
And Marnie put on a great show for new Bitcoiners, telling people how to do things simply and walking them through it step by step. Really great stuff from Marnie Melrose. We're going to go back to the archive now. Seem to have lost our place. There we are. And check out another show. This is one of my favorite shows. I always promoted it very heavily on my Twitter account, and I tried to get people to watch it. And unfortunately, I don't think the world was ready for this show yet. Maybe now they are. I've heard recently from Tastylicious, my friend in Indonesia, that he's going to bring the show back. Unfortunately, I don't know that he's going to bring it back on the World Crypto Network, but we would be glad to have him. This was truly one of my favorite shows, and I hope you'll like it too. It's called This Week in Cryptos.
Hey! Welcome back to This Week in Cryptos. So from today onwards, we are having a new format for this recap of the week, beginning on the 28th of March to the 3rd of April. Let us begin! Hey! Top story. CEO of Bitcoin bans China. Following rumors of China's plan to ban bank transfers to Bitcoin exchanges, the CEO of Bitcoin has decided to ban China. As of the 8th of April, Bitcoin transfers to and from the glorious People's Republic of China Limited will no longer be supported by the Bitcoin network. What the fuck is this shit? Who the hell wrote this article? Huh? Oh. Top story. China ban news sends Bitcoin prices plummeting. Is this another April Fool's joke? Are you sure? Are you really sure? Alright. China's central bank has just ordered payment companies and commercial banks to shut down Bitcoin trading accounts within 2 weeks. Chinese exchange BTC 38 confirmed this and said to its users that its services will be suspended. Oh my god, look at that drop! However, keep in mind that this order does not restrict individuals in China from investing or trading Bitcoin. Other news. BTCE offers trading in Chinese yuan. Being the ever-eager and opportunistic exchange that it is, BTCE is now offering offshore Chinese yuan, whatever that means, to its users following the Central Chinese Bank announcement. To fund a BTCE account with offshore Chinese yuan, users must wire money via a national Australia bank account in Sydney. Why Australia, you ask? Maybe they know something we don't.
Not too long later.
Oh, and now BTCE is also accepting the sterling pound too.
Some more news.
Gox uses customer funds to keep Capellas fat. And it has been revealed through a series of interviews by Reuters Tokyo that Gox has spent money on rent in the same high-status Tokyo office building as Hulu and Google, office equipment that included a robot and a 3D printer, and a special edition Honda Civic imported for CEO Mark Capellas from the UK. Shame on you, Capellas! I have never...
Once again, I just love this guy, and I love this chart he had here of how Mt. Gox spent their money. It's so funny. He's got this rent in the same office building as Hulu and Google, office equipment such as a robot and a 3D printer, UK market Honda Civic for fat ass Carpellas. He really went after him here. Just a great show. I love This Week in Cryptos. I can't wait till it comes back. I'll definitely promote it, even if it's not on the World Crypto Network channel. I'll put it out on my Twitter as soon as I see it. It was just great stuff. And he was so fun. He had this thing called the ban hammer. Whenever someone would ban Bitcoin, he'd get out the ban hammer, and he had a big animation for it. He really had it all. He was a great show. And we just, I think the market was too early for him. People just weren't ready for that yet. But I loved it. We also had my friend Megan Lords. She did a couple of interviews here for us. This one's called Peace and Bitcoin Remastered. I'm just going to skip to the middle, see if we can find it. Let's see. Looks like it's Chris Ellis and Megan talking about peace and Bitcoin.
As tyrannical as, like, our sheriff, for example, has a heart that can be appealed to. It may be, under a layer of a lot of, ice, but there is that heart there, and everyone instinctively knows right or wrong. I believe that, the law of morality is written on your heart. You know it, even though you can rationalize yourself out of it, even though you can be brainwashed out of it. If you join the military, you have to go through a lot of programming, and it tries to destroy that shred of humanity that is in you, but it's never, unable to be retrieved again. It just depends on what it is. What is it that's going to spark that humanity that's still in that person? So finding that out is the key to bringing up these kind of complex, difficult issues with people and being able to have civil discussions. Peace isn't, it's not this kind of neutral, everyone's floating on rainbows and everything's okay and no one ever fights. It's being able to have a discussion with someone that's difficult and that's heart-wrenching and that's painful, but doing it civilly and being able to connect with the humanity of that person and recognizing that, we both share this human element of compassion. And if you can just reach out to that, I think that's a huge key in bringing up the most difficult issues, and with finesse, with compassion.
Yeah, that's really good. In fact, Andreas actually tweeted out your comment about peace is not the absence of conflict, and I think that's so true, because the thing is that I think people have this misconception that peace is just nothing happening, and that's the opposite of what it is. I actually think peace is art. Now, I wanted to ask you a question. What if we got one of these law enforcement officers onto our show, one of the ones you were referring to, who tend to antagonize the homeless, take away their blankets, that kind of thing? What would they say if we were to question them on their motives, do you think?
Well, they'd be outside of their comfort zone. They're used to engaging in the public in a different power dynamic than if you were to bring them onto your territory, which would be like a Google Hangout where you were the administrator. So when they recognize that there's this discrepancy in the power dynamic, it makes them feel threatened. And I think that depending on the person, there can be a really visceral reaction of, oh, these people are just trying to mock me or make fun of me, or they're completely misunderstanding my position. You see it all the time. If you ever go to copblock.org, you can see all of the comments from various police brutality posts saying, oh, well, you don't understand what the officer's going through. They're risking their lives. They're putting their lives on the line every day to protect you. You see the exact same arguments that come from, I think a lot of it is kind of programmed into you through the schooling system. This kind of idea of this false authority, this authority that is made possible through physical items such as a badge and a uniform. And it's like,
And Megan and Chris are talking about the Sean's Outpost situation here. Sean's Outpost is a homeless shelter started in Florida, most of it paid in Bitcoin. They've been a big early Bitcoin group, and they just want to support the homeless in Florida. Unfortunately, if they aren't following all of the basic laws of Florida, the Florida police officers could come in and bust them. And that's what they're talking about here. Check out Megan Lords on MK Lords on Twitter. She's doing her own YouTube channel now. She has a Patreon, and you can check her out. She's mainly talking about libertarian type issues these days, not so much Bitcoin issues. She's also talking general philosophy and other things like that. You might like it. So check it out. We've also got, here's a great one. This guy emailed me up and he said, I love the Mad Bitcoin show. Is it all right if I do my own version? And I said, sure, of course. And that's how Mad Potcoins got started. And just a little background, back in the day, there was an early crypto coin called Potcoin. Like many of these other Potcoins these days, they were focused on the fact that marijuana dispensaries could not use banks. So they're saying, why not use Potcoin? Of course, the dispensary wouldn't own the Potcoin, so there'd be no incentive for them to use it. So they might just make their own hemp coin, dope coin, whatever. But this was a great little show. He did it for a long, long time. I think he was supported by the Potcoin community, but not much else. Much like This Week in Cryptos, he was ahead of his time. He couldn't quite find his audience, but he tried really hard and he improved each time. So check it out, Mad Potcoins. Seem to have an audio issue there. Not sure what's going on. We'll try this one. I could hear the intro fine. No, I can't hear. Okay. So that's really weird. I don't know what's going on with the audio here. Was working before. Let's try a different episode. Let's try something else. Let's see. This could be the end of this celebration show really quick if the
own particular flavor of morality in direct violation of the laws of this nation has one word and one word only, and that is fascism. Now, it may be soft fascism, and it may be fascism that is applied to people you don't like, who are doing activities that you find distasteful, like porn. But nevertheless, this is a gross violation of the rule of law. And it is a massive violation of due process, because the people most affected by this are small businesses and independent entrepreneurs and private individuals. And it's not just porn. It's payday loans. It's all kinds of other activities that have nothing to do with seedy businesses, but are simply undesirable to the Department of Justice because they want to exert an iron fist control over all financial activities of the citizens of this country. And we should be very worried, because if you accept this kind of executive overreach in the case of pornographers or porn artists, or payday loans, or check cashing operations, or gambling, or firearm sales, or God knows what else they have on that 30 industry list, then that's a long and slippery slope that leads to the executive being able to exert its own particular case of morality. And make no mistake, the big banks are not being excluded from making payday loans. The Department of Justice is not banning the bank accounts of corporations that sell tear gas and rubber bullets to the worst fascist governments on this planet. It's not banning the bank accounts of corporations that pollutes the rivers and streams and our air. It's not banning the bank accounts of corporations that are slaughtering animals in inhumane conditions and introducing poisons into our food and our environment. It's not banning the bank accounts of organizations that are exporting war industry and droning people from above. No, it's applying its own particular version of puritanical morality without any backing of law in the most fascist way possible. And so I think we should be appalled by this. And it has nothing to do with Bitcoin, really. What it is the perfect demonstration of why government should never have power over money, because that power corrupts absolutely. And when you give government that power, they abuse it to achieve goals that they cannot achieve through the normal democratic and legislative process.
Absolutely. First, they came for the pornographers. Exit question. Which category of business do you think will go cash and Bitcoin only first? Paige Peterson.
So there's already been a lot of gambling, online gambling businesses being run in completely Bitcoin. So maybe not the gambling in Vegas or where it's like state regulated as well, but yeah, I would say online gambling for sure.
Online gambling. Megan Lords.
I would say guns, people who deal with guns, drug dealers, or sex workers. I think any of those people would, I mean, drug dealers especially mostly deal in cash. So I think those would be great categories to become Bitcoin only or cash only, as you know, some of them already are. And it'll be beautiful because it will prove, as if it needs proving, but it will prove that you cannot stop this activity from going on no matter how much you dislike it, and that there will be other routes people can take, and then we'll have more people in Bitcoin too. So
I think it's really refreshing, and it could stop a lot of unnecessary trips to the ATM once they just accept Bitcoin directly. Christoph, Atlas.
I think medical marijuana dispensaries are definitely in a good spot to do that. They've been getting a lot of harassment with regards to, you know, accepting credit cards and having bank accounts and whatnot. So I think Bitcoin could be a good option for them. I imagine that they have a slightly skewed user base towards young people, and so their users might be more likely to, you know, get Bitcoin and be able to jump on that more quickly.
Absolutely. It's another case where previously their controls used to work, but now their controls are actually liberating their victims. Andreas, your thoughts?
I'd like to think of the people that the current banking system doesn't serve, the other 6 billion. And surprisingly enough, we have a big chunk of that right here in the United States. Some 18% of the population of the United States, the adult population of the United States, do not have bank accounts. That affects some 60 million people in this country, the family heads of household as well as the rest of the family. So that includes both illegal immigrants, itinerant workers, as well as the working poor who, through bureaucracy, high fees, limited access, and various other issues, do not have access to banking services and banking facilities. And so giving access to many of those people to systems that allow them to have access to international markets, international credit, liquid credit, loans, as well as be able to transact, that becomes increasingly a necessity. And the more the government tries to control and narrow the financial services that are offered to everyday consumers, the bigger that group becomes.
And just great to see a flashback there of the old Bitcoin group. That's Bitcoin group number 29. I don't know if you guys have been watching lately. I think we're on number 150, something like that. It's been going quite a while. Great to see my friend Paige Peterson there, one of the founders of the San Francisco Bitcoin meetup. Very early volunteer there, and helped me out joining that meetup, and then eventually helping to run it as well. Of course, Christoph Atlas, as we said, now working at Blockstream or at blockchain.info, at least we think. Best wishes to Christoph, creator of the Dark News Show, early volunteer here on the World Crypto Network. And we have MK Lords, and of course, Andreas Antonopoulos. We're still looking for an episode of Potcoins that has working audio. I'm not sure what happened to these old episodes. Maybe there was a music claim. Maybe something happened. Let's give this one more try for my good friend Mad Potcoins. We're going to try to skip the introduction, just get straight to the talking, which again, just very strange. Some kind of YouTube racism. They muted my friend Mad Potcoins. I'm not sure why this is happening. Something wrong with Mad Potcoins though. But that's just the archive here. Here's an interview with Tatiana Moroz. Here's another interview with Tatiana talking about Tatiana Coin. And here's another early Bitcoin YouTuber, still kind of looking for his audience. It might have been the background music. They're all agreeing it might have been a music claim. Here's Bitcoin Rush.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bitcoin Rush, episode number 8. There was an overwhelmingly approved bill by a California Senate committee that would officially legalize cryptocurrencies and other alternate forms of money in the state of California. The Banking and Financial Institutions Committee voted 7-1 in favor to repeal a section of the Corporations Code that prohibited self-made currencies. So now that it has been approved by the Senate Banking Committee, it will move forward to a vote on the Senate floor. And all what's needed after that, Governor Jerry Brown would have to sign it before it becomes law. Let's remember when the US Senate was holding its hearing on November 18th last year. The response was extremely positive for the future of Bitcoin. This definitely signals.
Good job, Bitcoin Rush. Glad to see California in there. That's my capital. That's right downtown here, not far from where I live. Bitcoin Rush went on to start his own YouTube channel, and I believe is still making videos. You can check him out on Twitter or on YouTube at Bitcoin Rush. Good stuff. Again, Bitcoin Rush brings the attitude, and he also brings his personal expression. As you can tell from his accent, I believe his first language is German, and he believes in Bitcoin. He's an early believer. I got to meet him once at Jason King's event. It was really cool. So shout out to Bitcoin Rush, one of the early Bitcoiners here. And here's a video that I'll bet you guys will like. This is the 2014 Bitcoin costume contest. And a couple of my friends here on Twitter, I'd interviewed her a little early on. It's amazing how old some of these interviews are. But I did an interview right here with Jerica Truax talking about her iPhone app called iNacho, where you could rate all of the nachos in your area. And it was a really fun little app. And later on, Jerica actually came to California, and her friend Abby were going to the San Jose Comic Con, and they were going to dress up as superheroes. So I thought I would dress up as Mad Bitcoins. We also had the great idea to give away Bitcoin at this contest. What we would do is each of the contestants would hold up a QR code. Then people at home could donate their Bitcoin to that QR code, thus voting in the contest. It was really great. The top winner got around $300 in Bitcoin in 2014 terms. I gave them paper wallets in an envelope, told them very seriously not to lose it, that it was the only copy. I did not keep a copy of the private keys. I checked about a year later. I think only 3 of the 10 had managed to move their Bitcoin to another account. However, one of them, when I told her about it, she said she already knew about it. She already had a wallet and she was ready to go. So let's go one more time with Bitcoin costume contest. We also had some sound issues, so we went ahead and went mainly with music on this video. And again, this is royalty-free music, I think. Now, I know a lot of you are saying at home that you think that the girl with the biggest is going to win or something like that, or some kind of negative comments here. We're gonna skip a little ahead. That's a really cool costume. This is Boba Fett mixed with Wolverine. That's cool. He's got all the details. It's pretty amazing. We walked around a little bit. Judge Dredd. I think that's the one that knew about Bitcoin. These are all kind of professional cosplayers here. This guy looked just like Superman. The blue eye contact's a little strange, but he looks more like a space alien, I'd say. And they were lovely, although I hadn't seen that movie. Samus Aran, incredible Metroid cosplayer there. And last but not least, well, there we have me looking there. I gotta tell you, this is our winner right here. The last person in the contest wouldn't even really talk to us, kind of growled at us. But look at the alien costume. And I think the alien costume won around $300 here back in the day at those Bitcoin prices. So very cool. The Comic-Con costume contest. Very fun back in the day. I would love to do another one. It'd be super fun. But looking through this, we've got all kinds of interviews. We've got the Bitcoin Austin, Texas meetup with Christoph Atlas. We're covering Tatiana Coin. And then we even had Jamie Nelson join us from Wisconsin, I think. Let's just get a little bit of Jamie Nelson here on the World Crypto.
Hello, and welcome to When the Bit Hits the Fan. I'm Jamie Nelson, and I am the host.
Hey.
Mr. Thomas Hunt, thank you for joining me.
So we're live?
Yes, we are live. I was just figured out my feedback problem and got that taken care of. I was just listening to your Tatiana Coin. That is a very interesting thing. I was a musician for many years myself. I just recently gave that up while I still diddle around a little bit myself too. But
right on. What'd you play?
Never give up your music. Jamie's a great guitar player. I'm not sure what he's up to these days. I heard at one point that he went to Mexico and he seemed happier there, and I think he might have stayed. I don't know. But a good guy, Jamie Nelson, also volunteered his time here on the World Crypto Network to help bring you the Bitcoin news. And once again, this has always been a volunteer group. No one's ever really been paid. There's never really been a lot of money in the World Crypto Network. We played a little bit of This Week in Cryptos. They're talking about it in the chat. We did. Here's a show we did actually in person. Chris Ellis, Megan Lords, Davi Barker, Christoph Atlas, even Derek J, I think, and myself, all traveled to the Bitcoin and the Beltway convention in June of 2014. That was right. Bitcoin was right there in Washington, D.C., in the heart of the beast. And Chris and I filmed a little show that we started called Chris Before Coffee. And Chris didn't want to do this. He didn't want to do this show. I don't think he ever wanted to be on YouTube or on a video, but he was so great in those early videos. He had so much philosophy, and he was so straightforward with the way he shared it, and people could really follow it and understand it the way he was explaining it. And I said, Chris, you got to do a show. You've got to do, you got to do a show. So here it is, Chris Before Coffee, very first episode.
We're live with Chris Ellis in Washington, D.C. So, Chris, how's the convention been going so far?
Been really good. I really love the Twinkies. They've been excellent. I had a great flight over. Really, really smooth. Got in a cab yesterday. It was the guy's first day. Took me 2 hours to get here from the airport. It was an absolute nightmare. But when I did get here, it's been really, really good. And when you look at DC from certain angles, you could be in London. Everything's a little bit bigger. Cars are bigger. The buildings are bigger. Some of the bigger. So it's been really, really good fun. And last night we went out with Jason King, and we actually got some a homeless lady, an actual hotel room in the Marriott. That was there's so much I can learn from this guy. I'm really glad that I came here.
So you had an extra room, and you went out on the street and found a homeless person to stay in the room?
Yeah.
Very
yeah, we
cool.
just went. I kind of like tagged along, but I was kind of nervous and I didn't know what to do, and so I kind of felt like a fifth wheel, and I wasn't sure what to say. So I didn't just want to go up like as somebody that isn't from America to a homeless person in America and say, hi, by the way, do you want a hotel room?
And obviously we didn't want to film it. We didn't want to influence the thing with cameras or
no, that would have been. Yeah. I think that would have been insensitive to the person. So what I learned from that whole trip last night was that, like, literally you just go up to somebody and say, look, are you cold, or do you need somewhere to stay tonight? And you just sit down next to them. You don't like talk down to them. You just sit down next to them and you just say, look, we've got this hotel room. So we came back to the hotel, we booked out the room, we got the key, and then we all went out to meet her, and then we walked her back to the hotel, and we just kind of walked with her, so it didn't, so it looked cool and everything. And yeah, she was really happy, and I was like, I love these people. I really like it here. I want to come out here more. I want to learn more stuff like that, and then take that back to London with me.
Very cool. And we're going to see Jason speak this morning at the conference. He's headlining. So, very cool. He just got done running across the country.
Yeah. I keep saying this. I mean, he is the best person in the whole Bitcoin space. Well, like everyone else, like talking about the price and startups and frictionless shopping and all that bullshit, and like he just keeps it real. Like he's just a real person.
What's interesting is both Jason and Andreas have this incredible focus on charity. Andreas with the remittances, Jason with the homelessness, and that they're able to see this future of Bitcoin that's way beyond just the money or people getting rich or any of that nonsense. It's about the access to money and the access to loans and micro lending, the kind of thing. If we could all give this homeless lady 10 cents, she'd be in much better position if there was more rolling funds like that moving around. And it seems like with Bitcoin, we have everyone gets a little extra money, and then they get a little charitable with their extra money. So if we can keep that up and, just keep the money flowing around without the fees. Maybe if we think about all the money that was eaten up by credit card fees, it could go to homeless instead.
See, we've completely got money back to front. At the moment, everyone's trying to have something just so that someone else can't have it. And the ego gets a little boost, and it's like, yeah, I've deprived somebody, and now I've got something. And everyone's telling themselves the same story, that they're going to buy at the right time, that they're going to sell at the high, and then they're going to have enough money they don't have to worry about it. And some people are even thinking, I'll fly to the Cayman Islands, and it doesn't matter if World War III breaks out, right? And so we're all going around with this story, but I tell you what, we've got this completely fucking wrong. Money is forgiving, right? And I think we're entering a culture now where actually the blockchain becomes like our canvas on which we can leave messages to the future. And we can say, like, I believe in this identity. I want to become this person. And this blockchain thing gives me a canvas on which I can communicate that forever. And so then actually you're not going to want to hold your money for very long. And as we start to see more kind of crowdfundings, like the people that very kindly gave to this trip so that we could be here doing this, the more people will start to get less nervous about their actions in the future. You won't have to think like, is this going to be worth it, or am I just going to waste all my time and money? I think Cory Doctorow talked about this in Down and Out in the Magic Kingdom. It's a very famous book. You should look it up. It's open source on the internet. And you're going to have this kind of reputation economy where people are going to live on their reputations. But even the people that have terrible reputations, they'll still be able to survive. They'll still like have enough just so they can live. But then you're going to have this kind of elite group that are just going to go around like being really authentic and just like making really cool stuff. And people are just going to send the money, because when you can leverage like 3.5 billion people across the planet, which is currently the estimated number of people on the internet, which is the potential addressable market of Bitcoin, then you don't have to worry about, you know, who can pay you locally, like what local businesses are there. Has there been a big franchise that's recently come to your town or whatever you can go get a job in? The whole world is your potential customer.
Well, it's very much like finding that support that you need. When you're a kid and you're all alone and you like punk rock music and you're the only one in your town that likes that, you're very alone. But with the internet, you're connected to everyone else. And you have this new crowdsourcing thing where if you can say, I'm an honest kid, I want to learn guitar, I don't have a guitar, you could essentially get a guitar from Bitcoin. Then you'd have a guitar, then you could make videos. And if you fulfill the promise that you made, if you say, I'm going to make videos of me learning guitar, they're not going to be that great, but eventually I'm going to learn it.
Oh,
that's what the internet wants, is this truth, this honesty, this people working on a project every day, getting better at it, having clear goals. And like you're talking about with the goodwill, like right now we have a bunch of people that keep all their money in the bank and they're trying to save for everything. But the truth is they don't even know if tomorrow they're going to pop off.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, even rich people.
Yeah.
So in the future, what you're describing and what Corey described in the Magic Kingdom with the woofie system and with reputation that lasts is like more of an elite that's not based on money, but it's based on quality and people out doing good things and people with clear actions. Like it's much more about being transparent and kind of like being like Mr. Rogers. Like,
and this is really one of Chris's great ideas that he shared with us, that it wasn't so much about who had the money or who had the commercial success. It was about telling the truth. And it was about being honest and being not just relatable and not changing to be accepted, but just expressing who you are, expressing that to the internet, and just letting the chips fall where they may. And it is very much about integrity, and it's about reputation. And what we were saying about Bitcoin earlier is saying in a system where everyone can see how much money you have, that it might actually be a negative thing to be a hoarder, right? To be a person who's just sitting on a huge pile of money and not spending it, not helping their fellow man. It might be a situation where people keep a very small amount of money, but they keep a large amount of reputation. And they tell everyone, this is my plan, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, this is why I think it will help, this is how you can help. And everyone can change things, and you can just, with your integrity. You look at a lot of these projects that have been set up now, people put their integrity out there, they sold it, they traded it, they made their project. And now if they succeeded, if they delivered on what they promised, now they have even more integrity. And Chris also mentioned Jason King, the founder of Sean's Outpost, the Florida homeless shelter. And it looks like we don't have it in here. I think it was on the Mad Bitcoins episode. But I did a live, let's see. I did a, let's see, with Jason King. Here it is. He completes his Bitcoin run. So this might be the end of my ad revenues here as my Mad Bitcoins channel fights with my WCN channel. But I'm going to go ahead and take the chance. I think it's worth it to play this for you. I traveled from Sacramento to San Francisco. This was June 8th, 2014. I think you're going to be pretty impressed with this video. Of course, Jason King, my friend from Sean's Outpost, he ran across the country. Truly an amazing feat. He stayed in an RV. He ran about 8 hours a day in his Vibrams 5 fingers. I don't know how he did it, those crazy footy shoes. But he just ran and ran and ran. And then he got to San Francisco. And this video is a celebration of Jason crossing the finish line. Be sure to keep your eye out in there. You might be able to spot my brother. You might be able to see Bitcoin Rush. And a very special appearance by Vitalik Buterin, who we kind of knew from sight, not as the Ethereum guy, but just as another nerd, another geek from the Bitcoin meetup. And we were actually hanging out in the neighborhood early, and we hung out with Vitalik. He was a little member of our crew there. And there's a great part in the video where you can see him running along Jason, adding in some commentary. And I remember at this point, Vitalik wasn't a billionaire. Ethereum didn't exist. He was just another guy at the Bitcoin meetups. He wrote for Bitcoin Magazine. We thought he was a cool guy. And I think you really like this video. So check it out. Jason King of Sean's Outpost completes his Bitcoin run across America. Bitcoins. This is Mad Bitcoins live from San Francisco. We're waiting for Jason King from Sean's Outpost to cross the finish line for his amazing Bitcoin run across America. It's happening shortly at the BitPay offices across the street from the San Francisco Giants ballpark. That's Davi Barker right here and Drew Phillips, early supporters of Bitcoin Not Bombs. This is my friend Ryan. Just a ton of Bitcoiners in this crowd. This is a really early video. Yeah, I think you really dig it. Early BitPay employees. There's a BitPage. She worked for BitPay very early.
County. Come on, people. All right, guys. See him? Do you see him? See him? Yeah. Let's go,
Yeah, hey, let me call my wife real quick. He just ran all the way. Hey, I'm here. Yes. Hey, everybody say hey guys, I love you all. I'll do 2 days, okay? I'm on. Gotta run back. Thanks, baby. I'll talk to you in a little while.
What's going to be your next plans, your next run, your next support for the homeless community?
You know, I don't know. I'm taking applications now. So if anybody's got some ridiculous stunt that they think that I should do, they should, you know, submit your inquiries.
The real question is, Jason King, you just ran across the country. What are you going to do next?
I'm going to a Giants game.
How do you see the outcome? Are you happy with it? Are you satisfied?
It feels really surreal right now because it's like one of those things where you start and it seems like it's never going to be over, and it's over. So it hasn't really even, I don't think it's hit me yet.
You're still warm. You still want to run.
Yeah, it's still.
So you're not going to run 30 miles tomorrow?
You know, I might.
You might, just in case.
Just in case, you know, I don't know.
So how many miles a day have you been doing?
It's like a drug, right? You got to back it off slowly. You just can't go cold turkey. Yeah, that'd be bad. It'd be bad. So yes, I averaged 31.7 miles for the course a day for the course of the run.
Incredible. 31.7. I don't think I could do that in a month, let alone in a day.
50 kilometers exact. Nice. Yeah, it sounds so much better in metric, man. The run's over 5,000 kilometers, which just sounds way more cool than 3,000 miles, you know.
I think the metric system better. Anyway, we lost that damn rover because of the metric system. They did a bad conversion, and it ended up underground because that's where they told it to go.
My name is Hard Left 121. This is the Bitcoin Across America bus. Jason has been in this bus since about the middle of January, running all the way across America. The sponsors that helped him buy this bus, you see the Sean's Outpost logo big, and CryptoKit. CryptoKit was a huge sponsor in making this happen, so all props to them. If we come around to the back of the bus,
CryptoKit later became the Jack's wallet.
That helped Jason make this happen for Sean's Outpost. Bitprint CA did this vinyl wrap, gift supported, Satoshi style, made all the t-shirts, Ethereum, BitPay, and of course CryptoKit. If we come around to the side here, I'll show you what the inside of the bus is like. It's a little bit of a mess right now because this is how we live. We didn't really clean it up much, but front of the bus, nice TV. We're able to kick out this couch. There's a fold-out couch here, which I sleep a lot of nights on. Jason's bedroom's back there that we're not going to show. This is the Bitcoin Across America bus. Welcome to the tour. There was a conference in Miami Beach. Jason started there, headed to Texas. I really started being with him in Texas, El Paso, Las Cruces, New Mexico, all through Arizona, and in.
And Jason really did an amazing job running around the world, running around America through Bitcoin. It was really amazing. Let's try one more for Mad Potcoin, see if they're all sound muted or not. Strange we didn't get any copyright.
Yes.
Here we go. There's a Mad Potcoins that works. All right, let's see. Sorry about those other ones. Bummer.
Good morning, Potcoins. Today is Sunday, 6th July, 2014. We are currently on block 335588 of the Pot chain. This past Friday, Americans observed Dependence Day, where we celebrated our socialist oppressors and our dependence on them. Many are still incorrectly referring to the holiday as Independence Day in an attempt to celebrate something that Americans are strongly against. There is no market demand for independence. We don't have independence because we don't want it. We get what we want. We wanted to smoke pot, and we did, even while it's still illegal in most places. Since there was a demand, it was met. But instead of independence, the majority of Americans have created a demand for dependence on the government with socialist programs like Social Security, socialized healthcare, welfare, public schools, and many others. People don't want the responsibility of taking care of themselves. Instead, they want the government to provide everything for them, all at the expense of future generations. Any American currently paying any taxes on anything is paying off debts from before they were born. And apparently, that's the way that we want it. This bleak trend is slowly beginning to change. There is a growing demand for money not regulated by the government, a currency that is not guaranteed to lose value over time. So we are starting to gain a demand for financial freedom. And if we want it, we'll get it, legal or not. There's also an increasing resentment towards people getting unearned and undeserved income at the expense of others, whether it be welfare recipients, bankers, or politicians. Maybe someday there will be a demand for freedom and self-sufficiency like there was back in 1776. While I don't support dependence on the government, I still took the holiday as an opportunity to shoot fireworks out of my grenade launcher. Here's a clip.
Hey, NSA, are you watching this? Of course you are. Say hello to my little friend.
Winston Churchill said, "Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all the others." I have to agree. While I am not free, at least I have a grenade launcher.
While I'm not free, at least I have a grenade launcher. I don't think I ever saw that one, but that was quite a great episode of Mad Potcoins. Shout out to Mad Potcoins, wherever he is, somewhere in Colorado. Just enjoying himself, no doubt. But as I said in the chat, we have a very special guest, Theo Goodman. Theo was also a very important early part of the World Crypto Network. It looks like, I'm not sure. Oh, here it is. Coin Summit in London. The B-sides, take one, day one. Some very early Theo Goodman.
Hello, everyone. My name is Chris, and I'm from the World Crypto Network. And thank you for joining us today, where we'll be talking about Coin Summit. It's a very exclusive Bitcoin event held in Canary Wharf, London, the financial fraud capital of the world. I'm joined today by Theo Goodman.
Hi, everybody.
Where are you coming from today, Theo?
I'm in Frankfurt, Germany, which is the home of the European Central Bank and a lot of European, probably second to London for the European capital markets.
So this morning we've been watching the live stream that's come straight out of the venue. I have to give credit to Premier for running such a tight ship. The live stream has been very good quality, and this is the location. Let me just pull this up. So here we have it. Here's where Bitcoin has finally penetrated. Actually, these guys did host an event last year up in level 39 in Canary Wharf. I went to that event. It was a very good event. But this year, the tickets are £720 each, and that's just if you're an entrepreneur. For anyone else, I think it was £1,200 plus VAT. So I was quite skeptical initially when this event was announced. I heard that a lot of good people in London, friends of mine that run, good businesses in the Bitcoin space, weren't able to get tickets either because they couldn't afford them or because they weren't invited. So I'm interested to get your reaction, Theo. Did you watch much of it this morning?
Yeah, I watched the introduction speech and most of the first guy, the venture capitalist. I'm sorry, I always forget his name.
Roger Ver, Bitcoin Jesus.
Exactly, Bitcoin Jesus. And yeah, I mean, I was trying to be, like you said, it's a real expensive and kind of, I guess in a critical way, you could say it's kind of like the Bitcoin elite. That's what I tweeted about. That I mean, you got Ghash, you got Bitcoin Foundation, you got all of the big venture capitalists all in the same room. If there is a hacker that wants to steal someone's coins, if those guys are stupid enough to use the public Wi-Fi, then they're going to be a big demonstration of how not to use Bitcoin. But anyway, yeah, actually, I was really pleasantly surprised. I think the opening speech was really okay. It was pretty interesting, and the first speaker also was asked the audience who here is Bitcoin curious, who really is new to Bitcoin. A lot of people were, so he, geared his first talk to new people, and he said that I can't remember exactly what he said, to be honest, but he said a lot of good. I thought that I was pleasantly surprised by what his little points were about.
Maybe the reason you can't remember what he said is that he actually didn't say anything particularly insightful or groundbreaking. Sorry,
that
Roger,
is true.
but it's no. The thing is that was a really unenlightening speech. Do people really need to be reminded that for the first time ever you can actually send economic value around the world? I mean,
exactly. That's true. That's true. I think that what it was a typical rah-rah speech. It's a kind of like a rah-rah event where everyone celebrate. Yeah. Bitcoin, yeah. Bitcoin, yeah. Bitcoin, yeah. And that's why
a VC circle jerk is what we've come to call
it. That's why I posted Coin Summit has started. Pump Bitcoin. Yeah, because I mean it should be a massive. In the past, when for example last year when there were those big New York hearings about Bitcoin, and there was all the talk, and the creator of Litecoin was being, interviewed on air at these big New York hearings. Everything was going through the roof, but I think now Coin Summit, I don't know if it's really going to pump anything if a venture capitalist does a simple rah-rah speech like that.
Well, the thing is actually that the price has actually gone down, and this is usually what happens when events like this kick off. Is usually the price goes down, mostly because the people that are bullish are all in that room and they're not trading. At least it's taking people's eyes off the price for a change.
Yeah, I guess that's true too. I also don't mean to be hyper analytical, but the guy that did the opening speech, he had his hand in his pocket when he was talking. That kind of like irks me a little. I don't know. I just can't really deal with that sometimes. Maybe it's just a personal thing. I don't know. I'm not a psychologist exactly. I don't know, but it means something. I mean, he's probably nervous, He has one hand in his pocket and he's trying to talk. Maybe he's just...
I got one hand in my pocket and the other is smoking a cigarette. Alanis Morissette. But special thanks to Theo. It's good to see that he's right side up in this video. In some early videos, Theo was working with Linux. And you know how it is with Linux. Sometimes things work and sometimes your camera's upside down. But Theo was a great help to us on the World Crypto Network and a really big part of what we did here. There's actually a whole point, I don't know if I can just find it right here in the archives, in about 2015, where the price of Bitcoin started going down. And it was 1,200 for a while, and we could buy a small car, and we were very excited. What kind of small car would we get? And then pretty soon it was back to 300, and we could not buy a small car. So, and I told everyone at the time, I said, this doesn't look good. I'm not a chart guy, but you know, there's some bad things going on in this Bitcoin. I believe in it long term still, but I told everybody it's time to get jobs. It's time to get jobs. And then I promptly went to San Francisco and got myself a job. So there was a whole period there where I was working very hard for BTC Jam and trying to make things go right in San Francisco, where Theo Goodman stepped up and took over the World Crypto Network. Theo and his show Transmission were pretty much all we had for about a year there, just keeping the thing alive. And it was just great stuff. And a shout out to Theo. He's in the chat. And we're just watching some old World Crypto Network episodes here, enjoying the show. What should we watch next? I'm seeing a lot of fun stuff. Mad Bitcoins did a thing called the Dirt Bucket Challenge in response to the Water Bucket Challenge, or had people dump buckets of dirt on their heads. And Mad Potcoins and Pi Rebel, my partner from the World Crypto Book Club, both joined in the challenge. I'm not going to show you, though. They dumped dirt on their head. I could show you the Mad Bitcoins one, I guess. But we had a lot of great videos, and we had a lot of great fun. You can see them all here in the archive. These are all 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 2014 type videos. Let's see. Maybe just a little bit of where to go. World Crypto Book Club. I did a couple of these, like I said, with my friend Pi Rebel, until Pi Rebel had a kid and wasn't really able to contribute videos anymore. But I'm sure him and his wife and his kid are doing well. I think this is an advertisement for the book club. Let's see how this went.
The sky above the port was the color of television, tuned to a dead channel.
Enter into the new cyberpunk reality with Mad Bitcoins and Pi Rebel as we delve into the roots of cryptocurrency by exploring the books, writings, or whatever that define the genre with the World Crypto Network Book Club.
Jump into the cyberpunk reality with your hosts, Mad Bitcoins, and me, Pi Rebel, a book club for the post-Bitcoin world where we'll explore the minds of prophets you've never heard of and discuss their books and how they relate to our current times. World Crypto Network Book Club.
What books might we be reading in the future? Neuromancer, Ready Player One.
Dune, Snow Crash, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
From the metaverse to the universe, nowhere is safe.
There
From
you
the
go.
World Crypto Network Book Club.
Said the right thing, but thankfully this is going to be edited. We're not just going to be like, here's our commercial, fools.
Thankfully, this will be edited. We're not just going to be like, here's our commercial, fools. Oh, I need to bring back the World Crypto Network Book Club. It was so fun. I think we made it through Snow Crash. There's a complete of that. And I think we made it 3/4 of the way through Neuromancer before my friend Pi Rebel had other things to do. They're saying in the chat they want to see the Dirt Bucket Challenge. I don't think it's right not to show dirt. I have to show myself. Get dirt on me before I show other people. But yeah, Theo's right in the chat. This was for drought awareness. Everyone was dumping water on their head. Oh, look, you can see these guys picked it up. It was on SoundCloud. It was a couple episodes. Interesting. But there was the ice bucket challenge, and they were wasting all this ice and all this water. And we said, stop pouring valuable water over your head and start pouring dirt. Here's Mad Bitcoins.
Good morning, Bitcoins. My name is Mad Bitcoins, and this is the California Dirt Bucket Challenge. I'd now like to challenge Nick and everyone at the World Crypto Network to take the California Drought Awareness Dirt Bucket Challenge.
So there it is. I had the dirt on me, And then Mad Pot Coins and my buddy Pi Rebel had the dirt on them.
Good morning, Potcoins. Hubert here from Mad Potcoins. Sorry I'm not wearing the costume, but I'm not about to mess it up. I'm here supporting the California Dirt Bucket Challenge. Challenge accepted. Ooh, smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Funny stuff from Mad Pot Coins there taking the Dirt Bucket Challenge. And now let's see if we can get Pi Rebel taking the Dirt Bucket Challenge.
Dirt Bucket Challenge, World Crypto Network.
Of course, the irony, it wasn't lost on me that after you did the Dirt Bucket Challenge, you'd have to take a shower, thus wasting water. But I kind of enjoy irony like that. I think it's funny. So that was some good stuff. There's the Dirt Bucket Challenge. I saw Mr. Blake Anderson over there in the chat. I'm not sure which show was the very first with Blake Anderson, but let's try this one. The pilot show from the Bitcoin squat in London. My friend Chris Ellis had some interesting times back in the day in London. He was hanging out with Amir Taki and Juliana Toriansky, and they were squatting in London. I'm not sure which squat this was. This might have been more of a normal house, but at one point they were squatting in a London office building that had previously been used probably by one of those banks that went out of business, one of those investment banks. But it was pretty interesting. And let's check out just a little bit of the pilot show from the Bitcoin squat in London.
And what I love about this is like it's an all-star lineup and we haven't done any publicity for it. It's like you just have to be here. You just had to be online at the right time. This is the resistance. This is the resistance right here. You're getting exclusive access. I might even pull this offline after. You could be watching this right now, except you're not. I can see you.
Live now. Oh, cool. My computer says it's going to read.
Brave world. You're Hydra.
This is Brave the World.
Got nothing on this, yeah. That's not my iPhone, yeah. That's first.
He's like open source all the way.
It's actually Amir's.
Well, how do I use it? Oh, so my iPhone back then. I'm gonna ring Moscow.
Oh.
It's gonna like go through my
Wait, look,
contacts.
Oh,
email. My email. I've got 1,000 emails. It's gonna read my emails. Yeah. It's my iPhone.
Yeah, look at those. Look at all those donations. Yeah.
So we've got no viewers. This is like an all-time record. Absolutely zero.
Yeah.
I can tell Twitter if you want.
But we're just testing it out. I want to shoot. Yeah, by all means do. Like, I want to do a live stream from here tomorrow. So I was just testing out the quality from my iPad internet connection.
Not giving me the link.
For Bitcoin developer Taki, who's rewritten Bitcoin Core from the ground up.
Yep.
For living.
Hello, everyone.
He's infamous, I would say, infamous in this
Yeah, well, I just don't publish the things I do. I keep it secret because I'm not vain. I'm not
trying to
vain.
squeeze in there.
I'm very modest. I'm gonna fall back into the shadows where I belong.
I did like some 3D video shit. Everyone moving, like jumping.
Funny stuff from Chris and Juliana Toransky and Amir Taki there. We're going to jump ahead, see if we can find Bitcoin Blake. We're looking for some Blake. We saw him in the thumbnail. That might not be enough.
Because it's London.
No, shut the aerial.
Yeah, I've got the aerial. So piggybacking off of some cafe's Wi-Fi.
There it is. That's how they get their illegal Wi-Fi.
Like a computer down here that's the gateway.
And this one too.
Actually, Nick should be on this. Lift it up. Higher. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one back.
Yeah.
See a little bit of Theo Goodman down there.
So then, well, we still need to work out how to get it into the other room.
Wi-Fi problems at the squad. I think they also showed us the electrical system. It was a nightmare. Looks like Blake's got his guitar out.
Okay, nice. What to look out for. So hopefully I can.
So is Blake gonna play us a song? You got a song?
Yes, Blake's gonna play us a song. Let's go to live to Blake.
from Minneapolis. Minnie somewhere.
He's like, no sound.
No sound is because he's like, doesn't know what he's doing.
Are you are Todd?
He has Windows 8. He's having some.
Oh,
Fuck.
How about now? Is it working out?
You got it.
All right. Now. This is the only song Chris ever wants to hear.
It's about time we had some music on this show.
It's so great to join the chat. How you guys doing? I'll just jump in and like totally railroad.
You can pass the song.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna get.
We were waiting. It's like a music part of the show. Music.
Yeah. When you were here before, couldn't look you in the eye. You're just like an angel. Your skin
makes me cry.
You
Float like a feather in a beautiful world.
Yeah,
you're so very special.
I wish I was special,
but I'm a creep. And
I'm a widow.
What the hell am I doing here? When I
don't belong here.
I don't care if it hurts.
I have control.
I want
a perfect body.
Yeah, I want
a perfect soul.
And a company that I'm here, I want you to know. When I'm
not around.
You're so very special. Special. Yeah, fuck yeah. But I'm a creep. And I'm a weirdo. What the hell am I doing here? Take it to me.
Mirror on the flute.
Here. Oh, and it's like, she's running out again.
Oh, the high-pitched part, Radiohead. We probably lost our ad revenue there, and I can see the viewers ticking down. But thanks to Blake for bringing some music to this program at long last. We've still got plenty more shows to watch. I don't know if you guys heard, we're going to watch every single show. We're going to watch them all. That's not true. But we do have another one here. This is...
Hey everybody, welcome to Dark News. Today is October 7th, 2014. And of course, we'll be going over the latest crypto prices, precious metal prices, and... Wait, did you hear something? Oh no. I think it could be the dreaded bear whale. Dark News is a listener-powered show, so if you're enjoying the show, feel free to send a few bits to the tip addresses on your screen or the addresses in the video description. Let's take a look at the market prices for the last week. Mostly in the red for this last week, although prices are starting to rebound for some lows. Precious metals and cryptocurrencies combined up about 0.35% overall, moving from 6.86 trillion to 6.88 trillion. However, that's almost entirely a gain in gold and silver. Silver up about 1% and gold just
And once again, it'll break your heart looking at these dark news markets. Look at Monero, $1.20, dark or later DogeCoin, $2.90. Great stuff from Christoph Atlas there on Dark News. We also had James Bang in Hong Kong, who took us live to the Hong Kong protests, the Umbrella Revolution. And this all started out with some donations, some Bitcoin donations that James was going to use to buy Chinese food for the people of Hong Kong, dim sum. You can see right there, he's got the register. There's James.
For them to process, I actually didn't do that. So I've given them all the receipt, and now they're processing the dinner.
And there you can see your donations going to buy actual food for the people there.
100% of the donations are going directly to the people. We're not taking any cut or any salaries for filming this or for transporting food. 100% is going directly to the people.
So it started out as kind of a small mission with donations from the Bitcoin audience going to James, and then James taking the donations in the form of dim sum, Chinese food, to the people in the street. As you can see here, the Umbrella Revolution was a pretty major protest in Hong Kong against the Chinese rule. China was taking away a lot of their democratic options. Previously, the leader of Hong Kong had been elected, and China said he was now to be appointed. The people did not like this. They rallied in the streets. These were some of the most polite protesters that I have ever seen. If there was a broken bottle on the street, these people would show up with a dustpan and a garbage can, and they would pick up the pieces of the broken bottle. Hong Kong protesters are very different than American protesters in that way. You can see the tents here. They were occupying Hong Kong. This was an early point in the movement where things were okay. Later, the police would roll through these tents, evicting everyone, moving everyone out. We can see some early parts of the Hong Kong, let's see, umbrella art here. This is the yellow umbrella protest, umbrella movement. Here it is. They had a post-it note wall. This was an early wall where people were expressing their dissatisfaction with the Chinese government. This idea of post-it note walls later caught on all over the world, with walls in the New York subway and other places being set up where people could share their dissatisfaction. You can see the incredible volume of the notes. I do believe that some of this wall was saved to be archived by the Umbrella movement, while most of it was destroyed when the police took down this post-it note wall. I don't think it happened in this video, but in later videos we had James going up against the Hong Kong police. And it was a very scary situation where James didn't have his press pass and he wasn't in the right area. And some of the police knocked him to the ground, banging his head and hurting our friend James. This was very unfortunate. And we later were able to get James a press pass, and we got him a helmet, and we told him to take care of himself. If you see here, we can see some that's Occupy 16th police attack students. So just again, incredible breaking news that we were able to bring to you live. And this wasn't just, obviously James is the man in the street and deserves all of the credit. This was also a team effort by the World Crypto Network. You saw Jamie Nelson in there hosting some of the live streams. Of course, myself, Chris Ellis, Theo Goodman, Blake Anderson, even Derek J helped out. And I know you know Derek J, he's a libertarian. I don't think he cares much for protest, but he understood what we were trying to do here and the value of this live news that we were bringing to the world. You can see James here is being pushed around, presumably perhaps by a police officer, being questioned. It's just a very raucous, riotous scene. It's very not safe. You can see James is wearing a tear gas mask here. We're seeing just madness. And again, the World Crypto Network was there for you live, bringing you long live streams of what was going on in the ground in Hong Kong during this time. So it's a very dramatic video. Shout out to James Bang. We haven't heard from him in a while. I hope he's doing well. He did volunteer entirely to do this himself in Hong Kong. He was very taken by the movement. He was excited by seeing his people in the street and seeing them demand their rights and their freedoms. Your videos are too long. That's stupid. You're stupid. All right. So we're going to keep moving here. Shout out to James Bang, of course. Much respect. Great stuff. And see what else we've got here. Bitcoin talk show. James assaulted in Hong Kong. Again, you can check out the entire Hong Kong series here on the World Crypto Network. Check that out. How about mad pot coins with partial nudity? That sounds good.
Good morning, Potcoins. Today is Sunday, 19 October 2014. We are currently on block 47, 12, 18 of the pot chain. Here's what's been going on this week. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the world of Potcoin, some of it good and some of it not so good. Pot Protectors posted a few concerns on Reddit this week. To see the full post and reply, there's a link in the description below. I very strongly recommend reading the whole thing. Here are a few of the points that were brought up. What's going on with the ATMs and dispensaries? I've been wondering this myself too, since there's been no mention in months. Nick responded with, in order to remain compliant with US laws regarding money transfer, we must either license the company with FinCEN at a federal level and pay millions in bonds, or simply not sell directly as the company behind the coin. The use of cryptocurrencies for the purchase of products containing THC remains a sensitive subject. However, we have plans to release a merchant application that will ensure strict compliance with all laws regarding the sale of marijuana, both recreationally and for medical use, to ease the concerns of dispensary owners. So that sucks. I didn't even know the ATMs were gone. I had seen them at River Rock 5 months ago and just assumed that they were still there. But the big part was about the legal compliance app. Potcoin took on a huge challenge when they decided to be legal. As a cryptocurrency, it can do whatever it wants. And what it wants to do is follow the laws. The biggest challenge is to understand the laws. They have to be written in a way that the average person can't understand, because if everyone understood the laws, no one would need a lawyer. If Potcoin can overcome the nightmare challenge of bookkeeping, accounting, reporting, auditing, and complying with the law, then it would be easier than cash for dispensaries. And even without any of that, it's still easier to accept than credit cards. I don't agree with any laws concerning cannabis, but unfortunately, things are the way they are. And while I like to imagine a free world without rulers, I don't expect to see it within my lifetime. Legal compliance might be the killer app that Potcoin needs. Another great question from
Good to check in with Mad Potcoins. Didn't look like things were going so well there for Potcoin. Their ATMs had been removed and they were attempting to go legal to attempt to serve dispensaries. I'm not sure how well that worked out. We also had another great contributor here, Flipside from Australia. He did a really funny show, again, way ahead of his time. Both this show, This Week in Crypto, several of the other shows, we promoted them as hard as we could. We really gave this all we could, but it was just too early. The audience wasn't ready for this, but I think you guys will be ready for this now. A little bit of Flipside bits from Australia, some great comedy here.
Welcome to the Flipside Halloween edition. I'm DJ Booth. This week in Bitcoin news, BitPay has announced a new project called Foxtrot, a simple, secure and decentralized dance network based on Bitcoin discography. Just like Bitcoin, Foxtrot is based on elliptic curve dance routines and enables a trustless person-to-person network of dance floors, specifically for the tango, waltz and head-to-toe encryption. BitPay's CEO Stephen Pear suggested that while Foxtrot is currently in its early stages, he could see the project as a way to replace TCP/IP and America's Got Talent. In the wake of FinCEN's ruling that Bitcoin payment processors are money transmitters, Arthur Levitt, the longest-serving former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, is joining the advisory boards of BitPay and Vorum. The SEC also sent long-distance telegrams to hundreds of Bitcoin companies that have offered unregistered securities on Counterparty and crowdfunding platforms like crypto stocks, asking them to clarify whether this internet thing is like a series of tubes. Altcoin exchange MCX Now has been hauled into the principal's office after losing 350 million Dogecoin to theft because it failed to upgrade its wallet software. Despite months of planning and widely distributed warnings about the mandatory Dogecoin upgrade, MCX Now claims the Doge ate their homework. Surprisingly, the Doge thief has thrown the hapless exchange a bone and converted their swag to 135 bitcoins, which they gave back to the exchange. The site operators are trying to dig themselves out of this mess and are urging users to withdraw their funds before the exchange closes on November 15th. Superhero LedgerX is planning to bring a fully licensed Bitcoin futures exchange online to fight economic stagnation and stomp their boot on the neck of unregulated competitors. LedgerX is applying for registration with the US Commodities Futures Trading Commission while raising $4.5 million from big names such as Google Ventures, Ben Davenport, Brock Pierce, and Lightspeed Venture Partners. The Bitcoin Foundation's Financial Standards Working Group has detailed a plan to standardize Bitcoin's unit of account, name, and ISO code. The most popular plan is for bits, to represent 100 Satoshis, or 1/1,000,000th of a Bitcoin. The ISO
That's 4 years ago we were talking about bits. 4 years ago. How exciting these amazing innovations are when 4 years go by and we're still talking about bits.
which aims to brighten and exfoliate sensitive skin. John Matonis of the Bitcoin Foundation has resigned his position as executive director to be replaced with Patrick Merck. Matonis will also give up his board seat. As yet, we haven't heard reasons for the resignation, but it is believed Matonis wants to spend more time with his Xbox and catch up with Game of Thrones. $500,000 worth of Bitcoin is being given away this week to undergraduates at MIT who complete a survey as a part of a scheme to encourage use and awareness of the digital currency. There will be a number of facilities available to students who want to spend their Bitcoin, such as the campus bookshop and by visiting Marty McBlaze behind the cafeteria. Well, that's it. Keep the fun hashing through the blockchain and send me a tip. Subscribe. A wise man should have money in his head, but not in his heart. Hashtag Bitcoin. See ya. Oh, before I go, since it is Halloween, have a look at this scary picture. You have to look closely to see it, but when you do, you'll shit bricks.
I don't see anything. Oh, great stuff from the flip side there. Classic show. Theo saying we should play the flip side advertisement. I'm not sure I saw that. It might be on the flip side on his channel. I'm only seeing the episodes here. It was funny for a while there. Chris was all mad at me because he said, "You're only recruiting people to the channel with silly voices and silly hats and glasses." Because we had the flip side with his backup hat, turned around hat. We had Mad Pot Coins. We had Bitcoin Rush. We had this This Week in Cryptos, the little bear. We had the silly talkers. silly talkers were big on World Crypto Network for a while there. But we have so much more here. We kind of rewound a little bit. You can see all the Hong Kong videos. Again, everyone chipped in. Everyone helped out. This is a total team effort, bringing you James Mang live from Hong Kong. You can see James here with his helmet, finally protected, but still going out into that shit. Here's a blast from the past. Like I said, there was a while there where Theo Goodman was totally the star of the network and took it over and wore it on his back for years, carried us along. Here's one of the shows that made it possible, Transmission with Theo Goodman.
And now for this week's search trends. We've got Bitcoin, Litecoin, DogeCoin, Tor, and pretty good privacy, also known as PGP. In the last week, not a lot of changes. And for Bitcoin, Regional interest was big again in the United States and the United Kingdom, and the top cities were New York and London. For the search terms, Bitcoin price, Bitcoin mining, and Bitcoins top out the top 3. And there are no rising terms, according to Google, because there's not a lot of volume. And for altcoins, we've got Litecoin, DogeCoin, Darkcoin, and Ripple. And there's a lot of interest in DogeCoin, and the interest in Darkcoin is bottoming out, it looks like. And over the last 7 days, same story, some big surges of interest in Dogecoin. All right, that's it for search trends. Now for trading news. The Bitcoin price is around $350 on Bitstamp and Bitfinex. There's still no clear direction if it's going to go down to 320 or test 300 again, or if it's going to break through the 400 and go all the way up to 460. Still no clear trend. And the altcoins, Feathercoin has showed a noticeable uptrend in the past few weeks, continually going up in price. In other news, there's a lawsuit against the popular altcoin exchange, Cryptsy. Silverlaw has filed the lawsuit. It says, investors with Cryptsy, with CoinDesk has touted as the largest crypto-to-crypto exchange, have seen their accounts emptied and Bitcoin simply disappear. On behalf of its clients, Silverlaw Group has pursued nearly $12 million in restitution from these online operators. Bad news for Cryptsy. It might also have something to do with the fee shares that it offered on the platform Crypto Stocks. Ironically enough, they offered these shares in order to raise money to comply with government regulations. Transmission today with Christian Rotzel from DogeRain and DogeCon. Hi, Christian.
Hi there. Good to see you.
Great. So today we're going to talk about DogeCon in Berlin, the first DogeCoin conference in Europe, or the first official DogeCon in Europe, I read. Also talking about DogeRain and just about DogeCoin in general. So just tell us, how did you get introduced to DogeCoin?
I think when I was getting into Bitcoin, I was seeing, oh, there's something called altcoins. So, okay, check out what is there. And then I saw Litecoin, then I saw Feathercoin, and I just thought it was a cute little doggy. And this was the first impression, of course, and was kind of cute. I was not getting it from the beginning, and then I was kind of continuing the my Bitcoin research and getting more into Bitcoin because it was more obvious or more direct to begin with. And then I joined a hackathon in Berlin, a Bitcoin hackathon. And while we were working through the project over the night, I was kind of getting into the talks with other Bitcoin developers, and DogeCoin was the topic. So, yeah, we're seeing DogeCoin. Yeah, it's cool.
And this was a really great app back in the day. It was called DogeRain, and it was really neat because Dogecoin was so cheap and you could send it around. You would just kind of swipe on your phone and it would send little pieces of Dogecoin to everyone who was connected, and they would all be swiping on their phone. And what was really great about it is it had a mode for only people that were nearby you. So you could say you're at a conference and you're making a speech. Everyone install this app, everyone turn it on, and then I'm going to swipe some Dogecoin to you. And it was really great stuff to see Dogecoin and to demonstrate what cryptocurrency could be like and how anyone could use it. You could even use it in this fun app. But it looks like we're joined by Jimmy Song. We're on the World Crypto Network 4-year anniversary here. We're playing some old videos back from 2014 when Bitcoin was $300 a coin. Jimmy, what did you think about Bitcoin when it was $300 a coin? I bet you're working with Armory or one of those old companies at this time.
2014. Oh my gosh. What month was that? Like August? September?
We're looking at October, September around here, I think.
Okay, I think I was working at both Monetos and Armory. I think part-time for both companies, but that was a really long time ago. Yeah, I think I was working on both. I can't remember. It's been so long. And I'm just like so tired right now. But yeah. Anyway, just wanted to say hi, Thomas. Yeah, I've been you know, in a European tour, you know, doing my seminars and stuff. And I literally got back last night, and I wanted to appear on this show just very briefly because people were asking if I had some sort of falling out and stuff. And I didn't. I'm just like really busy. And you know, I wanted to say congrats on 4 years of a lot of really good content. And you know, obviously you helped me get my start on the YouTube broadcasting game. So I wanted to pay tribute. So here I am. So, but yeah, where's everybody else? Are there other people coming?
Oh, well, I just opened it up to everyone now. I was just playing clips before. With everyone's schedules being so busy these days, it's actually easier to play clips of people than to try to schedule them. But no, I just put it out on the World Crypto Network Slack right now. We're kind of running out of steam. I've been playing clips for a couple hours now.
You've been on for a couple hours already? Are you serious?
Yeah, I started around 9 o'clock, so I think this is an hour and a half, maybe 2.5 hours.
Oh my
so
gosh,
it's been quite a while.
And how many people? Let's see. There's
We're down pretty low.
Where were you before?
We've got 128 live viewers. For a while we had 200. For a while we had 300. But people are mixed on this new playing repeats idea. This is a little more enhanced. I've been describing the repeats and trying to take people through what it was like in 2014.
I see. I mean, did you do a news show? Yeah, we could talk about the news or something, or like some of the biggest.
15-minute news update, but we can go through it again if you want. Get your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I've been like, oh man, I like literally have not been like paying attention to most of what's been going on in Bitcoin for like the last 2 weeks. Just it's literally been fly, sleep, teach, and then if I have some time, maybe eat. It's been like crazy. So what's been going on? Tell me what's been going on. I like feel like I haven't heard what's going on for a while.
Well, don't get ready for this, but the price is down.
Okay,
The price of
I
Bitcoin.
did hear about that. But that's about. I mean, like, you know, price is always sort of going up and down. So I don't know if that's necessarily that much news. I guess I could say my opinion on it. If you're shaking out now, that's great. I think you're a weak hand, so that's great. If you're trying to like sell to buy back later, be very careful, because there's a tendency for Bitcoin to just go up all of a sudden, and it sort of dulls you into like this false sense of security about it continuing to go down, and you never really quite time it right. So be very careful, and if you're a long-term holder, like I think most people that are watching this show, I don't think it matters that much, right?
Well, it's been painful. I've certainly never lost this much money before, but I never had it too, right? I mean, it went up so fast. Suddenly, I had more money, and I was like, "What am I going to do?" So I bought an Apple Watch, and I'm happy with that. And then now it's going back down, and I'm like, "What did I do?" I wish I bought 2 or 3 Apple Watches.
Well, I mean, I think right now you want to go and get paid in Bitcoin if you can, because it's really cheap, right? Like if you can somehow find a way to get paid in Bitcoin for doing something, that this is the right time to do it, because the leverage is so nice, and you're more or less buying the dip, but instead of like spending your cash to do it, you're spending your time, which people tend to prefer. So if there's like any sort of hustle that you can do, or some, you know, thing that you can, you know, some service or good that you can sell that other people might want, this is the time to do it. So I don't know, Thomas, maybe it's time for you to like make a Mad Bitcoins hat.
It could be a good time to sell some T-shirts, right?
Yeah, and like, do it on Lightning, right? Like there are people that'll buy anything on Lightning right now at almost any price. Just has to be under 0.04 Bitcoin, because I think that's the limit to a Lightning channel.
We are trying to find the first appearance of Jimmy Song. Looks like we're not finding it. I do have this one from the Mad Bitcoins channel from about 7 months ago.
Good morning, Bitcoins, and welcome to Mad Bitcoins Live. Today is Monday, June 5th at 7:02 p.m. on the West Coast. And the price of Bitcoin is an all-time high.
Look at that, 7 months ago. Would you be happy with 2,700 right now? Everyone.
I mean, Yeah, I was reading Nassim Taleb's book, Fooled by Randomness, and there's a very different quality about reaching a number from below versus reaching the number from above. So he was describing this trader that that had $1 million, but he at one point had 20 million. So it felt like he lost 95% of his wealth. Whereas, you know, like in college, if somebody said you're going to have $1 million, he would have been very, very happy. But reaching it from below versus above, two very different psychological things, because we have like this huge loss aversion and stuff. So it's weird that we feel this way, though. Like a steadier growth to this number would feel a lot better. I mean, in the end, it's just the same number. I don't think it matters that much.
Well, I remember for a long time, Bitcoin was it used to be 1,200, and then it was back to it was 300, and then it was back to 50, and I was always, Bitcoin's worth around 300. Then it went to 1,000 and 1,200, and it went back down. I was like, well, Bitcoin's still worth about 1,000. But then now to see it go up so much and see it come down, I don't know if it was ever worth 20,000. That seems like.
I mean, that's the way it feels like right now. You know, it's hard to analyze Bitcoin on a fundamental level. I think people have tried, and like literally everyone asked me, like, "Hey, how do you figure out the fundamental value of an asset like this?" And I mean, the only answer that I can think of is that if it's money and it's the base money of civilization, then it's worth a lot more. It's either zero or something much, much larger. I don't know which. I have a tendency to think it's the latter, but who knows, right? Like it's hard to value something like this, and I think the market's volatility sort of indicates that as well.
Well, and I always say that the media has never seen anything like Bitcoin before, so they don't know how to cover it.
Yeah.
They don't know. There's no historical example. They go back, they find the tulips and the .com bubble, and they keep referencing those, even though they're very dated and outdated references. I'm surprised to see anyone call it tulips in 2018 after what we've been through. But there's Paul Krugman again, signing up for the old tulip brigade.
Yeah, I think it's less like a tulip and more like gold. And I was reading somewhere, I think it was a tweet a few weeks ago or something like that, that said, hey, imagine what the initial people that you know, like ancient people that started using gold as like a medium of exchange and a store of value. Imagine what they were thinking. It's like, hey, you want me to accept this yellow metal? Wait, it has a very low melting point, and it's not really good for weapons. What do you want me to accept this? It's not really useful for anything. Maybe dental fillings later, maybe. But like it's and I think the same reaction is happening with Bitcoin. It's just sort of like, what is this thing? What's it used for? Why should I accept it? I think there are people that get it, and certainly, you know, people watching this show, if you're watching, that's certainly the case. But yeah, it's a difficult thing for somebody, the mainstream media, to cover, which is why I'm glad I'm not paying attention to it. I like reading that book. I'm more convicted than ever that the news is actually like toxic to your soul, and that it totally like.
Which book, Jimmy?
Fooled by Randomness, Nassim Taleb. So his argument there is that long term, and if an asset is going up, say it's got like you know, 60% chance of going up in any given month, but you know, the volatility is there and stuff like that. If you check like every month, like, you know, 3 out of 5 times you're going to be happy, 2 out of 5 times you're not going to be happy. But we have loss aversion, so the 2 months are going to hurt more than the 3 months where it's going up. And his argument is that the less frequently you check, the happier you're going to be. And I think that may be the case with the price, because it hurts more going down than it does feel good going up. I mean, like from 10,000 to 19,000. I mean, I was happy, but both numbers felt kind of like astronomical to me, like compared to what I was used to back with like, you know, 1,000 or 500 or 300 or, you know, all those numbers that it sort of were steady at. So in many ways, I think, you know, the news can be kind of very bad for your psyche, and sort of mentally will sort of torture you. And this is the hard part of holding, right? Is sort of if you do pay attention to the news and you hold, it's that much harder because you have to suffer all of the negative hits. And again, we have loss aversion, so the downtrends tend to hurt more than the uptrends. Hurt more than the uptrends, make you happy. So, in a way, this may be an object lesson. At some point, you may want to just like not pay attention to the news as much, or pay more attention to the technical stuff. And I think that's another tweet I saw earlier today, which is that now that the price has tanked a little bit, people are paying a lot more attention to the protocol upgrades, including Lightning and Mast and things like that, which I think are honestly a lot more exciting and probably long term a lot more important. But people like to talk about price. Sorry about that. And they want to sort of believe that the price has more meaning than it does. But this is the thing about that book, Fooled by Randomness. A lot of the ups and downs of any sort of asset, like the volatility day to day, actually is just kind of noise. The actual signal is actually very, very tiny on a day-to-day basis. Over a long period of time, the signal gets amplified. But day-to-day fluctuations, you shouldn't worry too much. And for anyone that's like feeling a little scared or whatever, this is where you earn your money in hodling. It's when you hold, it's you're earning every penny, right? And it's these dips where you're feeling a little more nervous and stuff, and it's entirely possible we go much further down from here. I don't know. I think if Tone weren't at a Tony Robbins event, he'd be here and telling us that exactly. So, that's my take on it right now. Don't worry too much, and just hold, right? Like that's the strength of this community, is its ability to hold. And if you're not a holder, you're a trader, then you're not really adding much other than more volatility, I guess.
It can be really difficult. I remember when the price was going up, one of the things you're wondering is this the top? And if it's the top, maybe I should sell a little bit. And then it goes up more and you're like, is this the top? Is this the top? And then you're thinking, I remember when it went from like 300 to 700 back in the day, and we were looking at it every day. It would go up $100 a day. And we're like, should I buy more? Should I sell? Should I buy more? Should I sell? We had no idea what to do. We'd never seen anything like this before. And then when it starts to go down on the other side, you're like, should I sell? Should I have sold last week? Should I sell? Should I have sold last week? And then this continuing pain of the downhill slide, even if you only have a couple $1,000.
Yeah, it's what Nasib Taleb would call ergodicity that we really have to think about, and that's the idea that you like. It is kind of random. That means that there are sort of like multiple universes of possibility, and the best technical decision is sort of summing up under all of the possible futures and coming up with the right average and risking that amount. And poker players called this resulting or something like that. But that's the thing you have to focus on, and not sort of the actual particular history we happen to have led. The fundamentals of Bitcoin remain the same. There's a 21 million coin limit. And that's not going to change. There's increasing demand. There's a lot of utility. So, those are the fundamentals, not, it went down, this much in the last month. That happens to be the path that we took. It could very well have sort of gone up steadily over the last year, and we could be at an all-time high right now at 8,500. So I don't think you have to think about that very much. It's more about what is the value, unless you're a short-term trader, in which case the VIX and the volatility and the beta and all that stuff are really fun and interesting, and you can make money off of it. I don't happen to do that, but if you are, congratulations. This must be a great time for you. But yeah, at least as far as I'm concerned, The fundamentals of Bitcoin haven't changed in the last month. Like no matter what people tell you about the news about, you know, some Facebook banning some ad, or you know, I don't even know the news. Like South Korea did something.
There's even been some news articles where they come out and say they're like, Facebook banned the ads, so Bitcoin went down $3,000. They line the two events up together.
Yeah. Cause and effect are not that easy to determine, and almost can never be that easy determined to that degree of certainty. So yeah, I mean, I'm not happy with the mainstream media, but that's why I don't pay attention to the news, and I'm glad I haven't for the past year or so. And
I did start to counsel people recently, as hard as it might be, to delete the Bitcoin app from your phone. Definitely delete the Blockfolio app that tells you how much money you have and all your altcoins and everything, because it's been painful. I look at my little portfolio app, it goes crazy up, and I'm like, yes, I'm the best trader ever. And then it goes crazy down. I'm like, no, I'm the worst trader ever. And I tell you, I got this Apple Watch. It used to say 17,000. Now it says 8,800. So I think it's time to turn off the display on the Apple Watch.
Yeah, it's just gonna hurt.
Yeah.
It's gonna hurt, right? We all have loss aversion. That's a human behavioral psychology thing. Even if you didn't actually possess it, you just feel like you know, like a huge loss whenever there's like a giant like dip like this or whatever. But again, this has happened in Bitcoin before. If you held through 2013, both bubbles, or 2011, that bubble, you know, you've been through this before, and this is where, you know, your experience and, you know, having gone through it and knowing that it, you know, like Bitcoin doesn't take a particular path, that the markets might react a particular way or whatever, but that a lot of it is random noise, but the actual signal is, you know, Bitcoin is going up because people find it valuable, and there are fundamentals that give value to Bitcoin. So if that's what you believe, that's what you should you know, sort of let your emotions ride on, and not sort of this number. I mean, it matters, but it's fundamentally more random on a day-to-day basis, and even month-to-month basis, versus like a year-to-year or decade-to-decade basis, which we really have to judge these sort of assets on. So, I mean, if you're a long-term holder, don't worry. Like, just, you know, like go play a video game or something. Like, do something fun, right? Like, you don't need the stress. It's you know, it releases all sorts of like cortisol or something, like bad hormones in your body, and ages you and stuff. You want to be around to enjoy all the Bitcoin, you know, that's going to give you all that wealth. So, you know, like, don't worry about this stuff. Like, you know, take it day by day, do something like even better than playing a video game. Go do something for the Bitcoin network, right? Like, go open a Lightning node and like try it out and see if you can contribute in some way, even if it's just promoting on to other people. Hey, I'm running a Lightning node. Anyone want to open a channel? Let's play with this, and help the developers test this stuff and file bug reports and help the ecosystem through that. Like, there's so many ways in which you can be productive on Bitcoin right now, instead of like obsessing over price. So, you know, try to do that, right? Like this is how we improve, and this is how you can make some of that pain go away.
We're seeing some great stuff in the chat. This guy uninstalled all of his apps, then he reinstalled them. Another guy sold his wife for shit coins and then bought Bitcoins. She was a 9.
Sure, she was.
Yeah, so,
we believe everyone on the internet, right?
Everybody. They also say there might be trouble in Antarctica, saying that they're going to ban Bitcoins next.
Yeah, because, you know, that stuff. Oh gosh. Yeah, Bitcoin will be just fine. The fundamentals are still there, and, you know, I mean, if you're a trader, you trade, but if you're a holder, you hold. And I don't know about you, but I'm a holder, so I don't worry too much about that. And yeah, there are a lot of people that aren't you know, that are traders or think they're holders but are actually traders. And those are the people that get in trouble and sort of shake out during these like bear markets. You know, they're the ones that panic sell at the wrong time, buy high, sell low. You know that, and you know those people kind of deserve it. If you don't have the fortitude to hold on to your investment during the bad times, you don't deserve the gains in the good times. So, you know, a lot of people like, you know, this is the typical thing, right? Like they're like, oh, you're so lucky. You got into Bitcoin back when it was like $150. I wish I got in when you did. And I'm like, well, if you did actually hear about it and did buy it at $150, if you don't know the fundamentals, if you don't actually believe in the product, you know what you would have done? You would have done as soon as it doubled. You would have sold at 300 and then gotten out, and then been envious of all the people that helped. You have to know the actual thing underneath, the fundamentals. And if you know the fundamentals, you know that it's valuable, then you're gonna hold, right? Like, and when you believe in it. And this is also why I don't like I don't invest in a lot of these altcoins, because I don't understand them. I don't believe them. Even if I invested in them, I would sell as soon as there was like a little bit of a gain. I'd be afraid to hold because I don't believe in a lot of these guys. The ones I do believe in, I hold, right? Like it's and you know, if you're sort of like buying and selling based on sort of market momentum or something like that, then you're a trader. You're not a holder. And you know, traders have like their own ethic, but you know, don't be in this like in between state between holder and trader where you're sort of holding, but you're trading whenever it feels bad or something like that. You either believe your investment thesis or you don't. If you don't believe it, sell, get out right now and don't come back until you believe it. Or you do believe it, in which you're going to hold and continue to hold. So, you know, I don't know. I keep saying, I think I've been repeating the same point like 15 times. So I'll get back to you, Thomas. What are your thoughts on that?
I also think it's important to keep your Bitcoin away from yourself. A lot of my Bitcoin are in cold storage. They're in a file. They're in another file. They're in a safe deposit box. They're far away from me. So if I want to panic sell, it's hard for me. I have to go through several layers of security before I can panic sell. Whereas all of my hot Bitcoins, they've already been panic sold, right? They're all gone. So distance, put some layers in there. And also a lot of people who have a great investment in crypto maybe still only have one hardware wallet. Maybe buy 2 or 3 hardware wallets as your investment goes up. Separate your funds, put them in different places, get different safe deposit boxes, bury them in your yard. That's a good idea. You put it in a glass jar, bury it in the yard, and then you can't sell it. You've got to put some distance between you and the coins.
Well, you're protecting the coins from yourself. Is that what you're proposing here?
Essentially, yes. During these downturns, when you're starting to look at it and you're like, wow, I could have had this and I could have had that, and you start freaking out, but you know in your heart the right thing to do is just to hold it and not to look at it. Some extra distance, some physical boundaries can make that possible.
Yeah, that's also like, this is what a lot of people do with credit cards when they have a lot of debt, is they'll put it in like a big block of ice and put it in their freezer, and they that way they can't use the credit card if they're already in debt. They're like, okay, all right, I can't spend. Or if it's really, really important, then you know, I'll break that block of ice, wait until it thaws, and then get the credit card out.
I'll be out there with a hair dryer and an ice pick, just going at it.
Yeah, and there are people that do that. I'm of the mind that, like, you know, if you get used to sort of holding, you know, you can, you know, you're gonna have to work on yourself in order to do that. And you know, this is all a process, right? Like it's this is where you grow the most, is when you you know, when you go through some adversity. Like you know, we grow at the edges, not where you're comfortable. And you know, a lot of this stuff kind of should make you uncomfortable, right? Like you know, having it dip a little bit and then going back up, and you know, like getting to a valuation you're not really comfortable with. That's when you grow as a person, as a community, as you know, even as you know, traders or whatever. So you know, that you know, don't, you know, all this is not for naught. You're learning how to hold. You're building up sort of fortitude and prudence and temperance and all these other good qualities that are good for you. So you know, like a lot of people just sort of curse Bitcoin right now and say, I can't believe I'm having to go through this. This is so much stress. Well, it can be good if you utilize it for good and learn sort of the right lessons instead of panic selling. Panic selling would be the wrong lesson to learn right now. The right lesson to learn is that holding is difficult and that you need to have some guts to do it. And you either need to develop them or you should get out. Because if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Right.
Now, when you're talking about personal improvement recently, I know Blake was talking and he said that, Jimmy's really taking off, and he credits a lot of your success to the Jordan Peterson courses. And I know he has a new book out, 12 Rules for Living. I haven't read it yet. But what would you say about that? What can people do to improve themselves to make better lives?
Well, I mean, I definitely love, Jordan Peterson's videos, and he's given me a lot of insight into sort of like what demons lurk underneath our own personalities, right? Like that's sort of like his interpretation of what hell means in like basically all ancient literature. And I have a tendency to agree with a lot of that. I think really if you want to improve, you just you have to put in the hard work, right? Like, and that's really the big message there is that
and also say not just hard work, but daily work.
Yeah,
whatever
consistent
it is, you wanna get that
hard work.
Come back on a schedule, do it every day.
Yeah, and that's at least been a large part of why I think my blogs have improved over time. At least when I first started publishing, it was painful. That took me like 40 hours of work to get out my first blog post. Nowadays, like if I wanted to, I think I can knock something out in a few hours. And that's improvement, and it takes time to get there. You're not gonna hit a fastball like really far the first time you swing. You're gonna have to see it a few times, practice. And that takes effort, that takes hard work. Same thing with Bitcoin holding, right? Like maybe the first few times you panic sell, but after that you learn, and you learn more about yourself, and that's really where a lot of the improvement comes from. It's about knowing yourself, and this is one of the things that Nassim Taleb says he admires about George Soros, even though he doesn't agree with him on a lot of things, is that George Soros knows himself. And that's why he's such a successful trader, is that he knows that he has certain blind spots. And whenever he sees evidence that he's wrong, he'll just quickly turn around on the trade, and he doesn't get married to his positions. And that's really good for traders, because that's kind of what you need to do. And that's a virtue that a trader can have. But like I said, it takes hard work, it takes consistency, it takes discipline, and I'm sure you've seen the same in your life, Thomas.
Well, and that's what it feels like when I look at all these old videos. We were definitely practicing. Everyone was practicing. Andreas was practicing. Chris Ellis was practicing. And if you look at the later videos, we all got better. We all got better at making videos, even just technical things, better microphones, better at speaking, better at focusing on the camera or reading the articles faster, whatever it is, we improved. And that's because we did it every day, or we did it every week. We just kept coming back. And that idea that you have to do hundreds of things, and I never understood this as a kid. I always tried to write the perfect short story the first time, the perfect novel the first time. And it's very difficult to get past the first page when you're trying to do everything perfect, when everything's in final draft mode. But if you can get out there and, like Anne Lamont said, with these shitty rough drafts, she's like, just get something out on the paper, just get an outline, get a couple of good lines, start it. Hemingway talked about the blank page being like a bowl, and that it was this paper bowl that was after him, and if he could conquer that blank page, he could get something going. And that's what I think everyone needs to do, is just to start. Somewhere.
There's a great book that I got to read. I was on a plane for like 24 hours yesterday, and that was not fun. But one of the things that it afforded me was a lot of time to read, which I don't get to do very often these days. Like no Wi-Fi or whatever on the plane, or it was like crappy Wi-Fi, so I really couldn't do anything. So I sat there and read, and there was this book called The War of Art, which was really, really interesting. And it was all about how there's sort of like this thing inside you that wants to procrastinate, that wants to be distracted, that wants to do everything to keep you from your purpose, your creative endeavor, whatever it is that you can do to add to society. And and instead wants to, you know, fool around or watch porn or whatever, right? Like it's something unproductive. And the whole book is about how to sort of tame that beast and conquer what he calls the resistance, right? Like it's constantly there every morning. It's trying to derail you to do something else. You know, like every time you want to go write a book or paint something or make music or whatever it is, it's sort of like it distracts you to do something else and like prevents you from doing the one thing that really matters. And that was very good for me because I think it gave that whole thing a name, right? The resistance. And you know, oftentimes it's very easy to sort of succumb to the resistance and sort of lose. And it's a battle every day. It doesn't matter, you know, like who you are. I think even the most productive people in the world still battle that sort of thing, you know, every day. They just have learned to manage it better and better. And that's part of, I think, what it requires to grow as a person, even as a business, right? Like what you were saying reminded me of like a startup. You just have to try, right? Like you have to do different things. And you don't know what's going to succeed. You don't know what's going to connect. I mean, you have some theses and you adjust and try to, you know, go towards wherever the market is. But ultimately, you don't know shit before you start the business. And if you think you do, you know, the market's going to tell you differently. By the way, let me bring it back to Bitcoin. That's why I think ICOs are fundamentally a broken business model. It's in part because they all have to have the same business model beginning, like before the ICO happens, and that's the business model that they are sort of committed towards. And it's very, very hard to sort of get your business right the very first time. Now, it's entirely possible that somebody figures it out the first time and that's it. But most startups, most businesses, they have to tweak and adjust their direction. And ICOs are such behemoths, not just in terms of the capital that they've raised, but the protocol and the thing that they built has to be more or less perfect the first time. And that's extreme. That's a big ask of any software company, even ones with really, really talented engineers, let alone like some of these places that are just building based on a couple of white papers. Or a couple of pages of white paper, right? Like, so, you know, in a way, it's all related, right? Like, you know, virtue and success. Success comes from virtue. Virtue comes from consistency, discipline, and, you know, just failing sometimes and learning. So if you're not doing those things, I would strongly encourage you to start and figure out what your demons are and like, you know, figure out a way to manage the resistance inside of you, because that's always going to be the thing that that hurts you the most.
All right, good notes there, good advice, and I'm almost thinking good notes to end on.
Sounds good.
11:58 here. We're rounding out 3 hours of playing old videos. Maybe just a little bit of Jimmy Song talking about the UASF and the BIP 148 scenarios in game theory. This video is from June 5th of 2017. So not as old as the other videos we've been playing, but just a little bit of Jimmy, and then we're probably going to get out of here. Sound? No sound. Oh,
no.
You've escaped.
Yeah.
Well,
oh man, there's my old logo. Look at that one. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's happening if the sound is broken, but they want us to look at the chart one more time. The price of Bitcoin is $8,709. It's not looking good. I know a lot of people in the chat have told me that Tone has already called $7,500 as the floor. A lot of people think that it'll bounce off that floor, maybe even as high as $25,000. So we are holding through that. But once again, if it breaks through the 7,500, we could see 5,000. We could see 3,000. No one knows. But
well, more Bitcoin for me. I'll be glad to snap up some, or at least work for them. So, yeah. Thanks for the show, Thomas. Congratulations on 4 years. I know it's been you know, a very long and hard road sometimes, but also a very fun and interesting one. I hope you're getting as much out of doing this channel as your audience is. I know they appreciate you. So congrats.
Well, it's been great over these 4 years, and really, what I want to say it's all about is it's all about the people that I've met. It's all about the people who helped out on this channel and volunteered their time to make shows, and that they went on and they did well, and everyone got jobs, everyone went up in the world, whatever they wanted to do next. I think a lot of people have been able to use this as a place to practice their skills and then to move on. And it's also about everyone in the chat with the comments and the audience and everyone that I met over in Europe. So many people told me how they watched this show, how they watched it all day, how they loved it. And there was a special time there where there weren't a lot of other Bitcoin YouTube channels, and Mad Bitcoins and World Crypto Network and Let's Talk Bitcoin were pretty much all the games in the house. And I hope that we served you well during that time. We always told you to hold when the price went down, even though it was painful for us and it was painful for you. And I think we all got to where we're going. And I think we have a lot more work to do and a lot more places to go. So everyone, please give us a thumbs up and a share, subscribe to this channel. Also, shout out to the World Crypto Network podcast. Check that out on iTunes or SoundCloud. We've got not just the normal World Crypto Network shows like Andy Hoffman and The Vortex and Today in Bitcoin, but we also have Jimmy Song on there. We have Tone Vase on there. We've got Adam Meester on there, and the World Crypto Network podcast is really growing. We have multiple shows a day. You can listen them in the background while you work or while you work out or while you drive your car. It's a really cool thing. Shout out to Corey, who's helping us set that up and who's been promoting it and downloading the shows, doing the work to update that. Shout out to Sam Biohazard, who used to help us update the podcast before, and just so many other people who have helped make this possible. It's certainly not all about me. It's about everybody else who helped. And thank you to everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Today in Bitcoin. If I can get the Bitcoin group together, I hope to do that tomorrow. I need to write the show today, find some subjects, and then find some guests. We didn't get to do it last week, so I hope we get to do it this week. If not, we'll do another call-in show, and you can call us on Skype at World Crypto Network. And I'm getting tired of talking after 3 hours. If you want to check out some more clips, we have lots of old videos here on the World Crypto Network. We have more than 1,500 old videos, including early appearances of Chris Ellis, Andreas Antonopoulos, Theo Goodman, Blake Anderson, Tone Vase, Jimmy Song, Vortex, so many more, Jamie Nelson, Marnie Melrose, the guy that does This Week in Cryptos, Tastylicious, James Bang in Hong Kong. Just great. So many people, you can't even mention them all. Apologies for those I forgot. But we're running out of time. Until next time, bye-bye.